What are the pros and cons of the direct market? That is the question that we are here to answer today. And there's a lot to be said about that subject. And so we went and we found a comics pro to help us shed some light on this big subject. And we got one of my favorites. We snagged comic book writer, veteran, horror aficionado, and all-around awesome guy, Dirk Manning. Thank you for joining us, Dirk.
Oh, listen, like I said off the air, I'll say now publicly, I have so much love and respect for what you guys do, and it's really an honor to be able to be on and like join the actual show with you guys today. I was trying to figure out how many times I've been on, and been on in various capacities through the years, but to actually get to come hang out with you guys for the whole show, like I told you, Sean, and I'll tell everybody publicly, this is like a lifeless moment for me. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm super stoked to be here with you guys today.
Yeah, not to toot our own horn, but it is a pretty good way to start the Saturday. It kind of gets the day going.
Well, that's right. It, man, right? We could jump in and go. And again, like I was saying earlier, this is a situation where normally when we see each other, it's at New York Comic Con, right? Hundreds of thousands of people around. I'm in a suit. It's always like a stop and go, touch and go, things like that. This time we get to sit down and just seep in the joy of comic culture and chatting and talking. And I'm stoked to be here. So thank you for having me.
Well, some would say there's not a lot of joy to be had when discussing the direct market, but that's not the only thing we're doing today. We've got a lot of things on tap for today. We're going to do a draft, as always. If we hit the likes goal, which for today is going to be 25. So if you're watching us right now and you can hear my voice, you need to hit that like button. We've got so much going on. I also want to say, just before we get started with this conversation, that Dirk has a Kickstarter going on right now. It's for Hope Volume 2. This is for the Kickstarter exclusive hardcover. I read Hope. Hope Volume 1 and 2 are both awesome. And it's not like some long, 30, 40, 50 issue affair. We're still in the early goings of it. So get in on the ground floor right now. We're going to talk more about that and more with Dirk about Hope and a lot of other things. But for now, if you want to know more, you can go to, correct me if I'm wrong, heroforhope.com.
Heroforhope.com. You can jump in at the I'm New Here Too pledge, get the whole series to date. We've unlocked 7 stretch goals, including a Kickstarter exclusive wraparound variant cover that's exclusive to the Kickstarter hardcover edition. All kinds of cool stuff, all kinds of cool entry points. Heroforhope.com.
And I just put that link in the chat. So if you guys want direct access to that, you can just click that link. Here we go. So the direct market is something that I think a lot of people misunderstand and don't necessarily know the origins of. And we've talked about it here on the show briefly when we did the history of the DC Comics implosion. I briefly went over the origin of the direct market and why it needed to exist. So here we go. In the 70s, it was already evident that the newsstand business, the grocery store business of selling comics was not going to be sustainable in the long run anymore. Comic book publishers like Marvel and DC were losing their ass to returnability. What is returnability? So at the time, and I guess in some ways now, stores of any kind, a retailer orders their shipment of comics, right? And then they have a window, maybe sometimes not even, in which they can return that book to receive all the money that they paid for it. So if a newsstand orders 20 copies of Superman, right, and they don't sell half, then they can send the half they didn't sell back to DC, and DC will refund them their money, right? That is a very, very, very hard business to be in. And at that time, DC was selling through, I think it was 30%, meaning that they were losing money on 70% of what they were selling. I believe that was the number. That's really, really bad. Whereas for Marvel, it was the opposite number. And so what happened is that someone, a genius, had the idea to open specialty shops where you could just buy comics. You could walk in, there's no Time magazines, there's no Playboys or anything like that. It's just comics. And so if you love comics, that's where you go. You don't need to go to the newsstand anymore, right? They already have you. And so what worked so well was that in the direct market, which is what that means really is just shops that sell comics, comic book stores, and that whole, conglomerate. Returnability went away. So these stores, these comic book shops, bought comics from Marvel and DC and others and had to sell them in order to make money. And DC and Marvel made their money upon selling the books to the stores, meaning that they could sell directly to their audience and didn't have to worry about competing with anyone but themselves about anything but comics. So that's the origin of the direct market and of comic book shops. And it was great in the beginning. Of course, all these years later, there are all these problems. And I want to get into, and I want to start with Dirk, of course. I want to ask you, and you have an interesting relationship to the direct market because you're in it, but
Right.
you mostly, I think, you're a road warrior. So I want you to talk about what your experience is like with the direct market and what you sort of think. We'll start with the pros. What do you think the pros are of the direct market?
Yeah, I appreciate the transparency in regards to the direct market is something that I have a very unique relationship with as a someone that does primarily create our own comics with a lot of what people would call independent or small press publishers such as SourcePoint Press. The pros of the direct market, I think, are inherent the fact that you have magnet locations to go to in theory to get exactly what you want. For example, here, it's sitting right here. Oh, volume 1, trade paperback, right? We did the issues first, we did the trade paperback. So if you want this book, you've heard the hype about Dirk Manning. You saw me on the Comics Pals. You are just looking for something fresh and different. Maybe you met me at a convention. You want to go get more books. You can actually go to a comic book store and say, hey, this Dirk Manning guy, he had this book called Hope. I got the first issue for Free Comic Book Day or what have you, and I want to get the book. And you can go there and get it. And in theory, I'm just going to stick to the pros right now. In theory, that store should have access to very easily directly order you that book. A week or so later, boom, you have it. You can come in. And then you can also celebrate the culture of comics and discover new stuff, which I think is the other very big pro to the idea of a direct market and comic book shop. You can go in there and explore. People of a certain age are going to quickly lose the idea of what it's like going to a video store, for example, right? Going to a Blockbuster, or better yet, a locally owned video store. We had a locally owned video store not far. I went to college, and it was a college town, and they specialized in niche film. They had a John Woo section, right? They had a Quentin Tarantino section, right? And they had all this stuff in multiple copies, So to be able to get to go into a comic book store and explore and discover things past what your local, Myers or Kroger or whatever your grocery store chain of choice may be, IGA, to go in there where they're only going to probably carry Marvel, DC, the big corporately owned titles. Those are the pros, and those are very, very strong pros. And of course, there's a downside to this, which we'll get to later. But the fact that we have these magnet populations, we have a direct market that you can go in and order exactly what you want. Huge plus for people like me that are creating comics without the support of Disney money or Warner Brothers money.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of those pros. I mean, maybe I'm just negative Nancy today, but I keep thinking about the cons. But the pros are right. Like you mentioned, like a video store. Like I had one growing up too called Video Visions. It was just a nearby video store, and just being able to walk in and see everything, it kind of makes me want to pick up more things than I actually came in for. Which is part of the reason why I went digital. So, because it's less likely that I'll spend a lot more money. But yeah, just going into the store and seeing all the books lined up on a wall, it's almost like going into a casino. It's all these good, colorful things. I want all of them, which discoverability is great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing, discoverability. You know, if you want to get a comic, if you want to find something different, and let's say you are plugged in, I think the advantage as well is, well, you have ideally a community that exists and persists there to allow you to do those things to facilitate the continued reading of comics. I think that's also, I would argue, one of the things that most, if not all, comic book readers do is, you know, this was cool, you should read this. Recommendations are heavy.
Yeah, and if it's a good comic book shop, they'll kind of foster that community aspect. You know, we're going to be talking about one later, but that's where how everything is not. It's not a monolith. Comic shops. It's not a monolith. Every one of them is different, and some of them don't really foster that community. So potentially that could be a pro across the board. You know, having community nights. If comic book shops had book clubs, that'd be great. You know, but some don't. Some it's just like you go in, nobody talks to you, and you come out.
Yeah, my local comic shop, we had for many, many, many years, like an informal gathering that me and my friends, we all got together on Wednesday and we hung out. And it's not necessarily we just talked about comics. Sometimes we did like, oh, the new issue and such is out, you know, oh, the new issue of The Goon by Eric Powell, yeah, or Preachers, yeah, whatever it may be. But that sense of community as well is so powerful. And I think more and more what you're even seeing with comic cons now is, I think in some ways they're taking the place of the comic shop in regard to creating an experiential opportunity, right? The experience. You look at a lot of the marketing, a lot of the bigger comic cons now, you know, the Repop shows, for example, they're drilling down more and more into come here and hang out with your people, right? And being at a comic shop and having a direct market that sports comic shops where every Wednesday, you know, 10 of us could get together and just see each other every week and hang out, whether it be, you know, after work, it was like this informal thing, you know, some people go to the bar, some people go here. All as geeks, we went to the comic shop and we're hanging out, you know. So, and then over time, you know, new people kind of come into the group and then people move away and some people move out. And that community thing is very, very powerful and allows you to just, like you said, allows you to discover new books too. Someone's like, oh, by the way, Dirk, have you been reading such and such? Like, no, like, oh, I think you'll like it. It's blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, you know, couple bucks, I'll pick it up. I'll check it out. In fact, at my comic shop, there's this gag. Me and this other guy, if we both like a book because our tastes are so diametrically opposite, that's a book everyone should get. Like Invincible is one of those books. But like Dirk likes it and he likes it. This is probably a book we should all check out.
Objectively.
You know? Objectively, right.
That's so good. Yeah, I remember before mine closed in the city, I used to go into work. Wednesday would stroll up, and after he'd open until about 7. He'd like pull down the curtains, you know, and the door would get he'd lock the door, and then he'd bring out just like a glass of whiskey for people, and you know, you're just like, you're sitting there, you're chit chatting about whatever, and we're hanging out, we're having a good time. And that was my after work 7 p.m. picking up comics and hanging out with people. That's strong, right. Strong foundational memories.
Yeah, get pizza or something and just hang out, right? Or whiskey.
So, I mean, I have no community aspect to my comic shop. I go to Midtown Comics, as most people here know.
Comics.
And yeah, there's no community aspect. But, you know, I do love the fact that for the most part, they always have what I need. And I don't get accosted. So it's pretty nice. Something changed with the direct market as comic book publishers started to realize just how much money readers of comics were willing to spend. Most people think about, you know, especially when you talk about the past of comics, most people think about, like, you know, a parent taking their annoying kid to the grocery store and like, if you just chill, I'll buy you a comic, right? Or at the newsstand or whatever. But the direct market was very different. It was targeting adults. It was targeting, younger adults, maybe college age, and then certainly older, right? People with expendable income. And so it wasn't enough to sell somebody, a 70-cent comic, or, as we got into the dollar amounts prices. Then it became, well, how much more can we get? Can we sell people the same comic twice? Can we entice people to buy a comic that they wouldn't normally buy with a different cover? Right? We got into the variance aspect of comics. Then we got into speculators, right? And it became this really kind of just how much money can we milk out of this industry? And I think that's when things started to get bad. And then you look at what happened in the 90s and how there was really a collapse due to speculation, people buying comics that don't actually read them. And it's been weird since. And a lot of people put the blame on the direct market for that, because as the world has trended digital, comics are very much still analog. We're still paper. What's the number? 10%, 15% would be
10%.
maybe a stretch. Read comics digitally. That means that about 90% of people that read comics today do not read them digitally. They read them physically. So that, in theory, and this is where we get into the cons, in theory, that alienates people who want to read comics but don't want to go to a comic book store. And then you have Marvel and DC with like their timed exclusivity of, books are not available on digital platforms for X amount of months until, whatever that date is. And it makes it so that it's hard to keep up digitally. It's not one-to-one necessarily. So in your guys' minds, what are the cons of the direct market? In what ways is the direct market keeping comics from moving forward? And I'd love to start with Dirk again. And again, from the lens of a creator whose work doesn't all necessarily revolve around the direct market.
Herein lies a tale. As people that have heard me on the show before or are familiar with my work know, I started my career in comics 20 years ago. Somebody the 20 years of terror, right? Publishing comics online. I was one of the OGs of online comics, of web comics. My first series, Nightmare World, started as an online comic book. We posted 2 pages a week, every Thursday, new 8-page story every month. Boom. I preface what I'm about to say with that because when I got to a point when I started moving to getting my comics in print, first with smaller publishers like Ape Comics, Nightmare World then got picked up by Image Comics for a while. I recognized that the strong likelihood of me ever being able to monetize this career and make money was through this Kafka-esque system of the direct market. I didn't publish issues when I started. I published books. I published original graphic novels. I would put things out with a spine, and you can see my office here. I'm surrounded by books. It's like put my stuff on a shelf. When I started early on in my career, I had this very naive belief that just offering really good, high quality stuff will get the direct market to order your books. Not true. And you think I would know that because, being involved in music journalism for years before that, the best bands are always the ones that get the most popular. But one of the things I recognized right away in regards to the direct market is that comic book store owners, like any small business owner, I would imagine, are very much creatures of habit, and oftentimes are very interested in maintaining a certain order to what they do. Right. I'm going to say something very vulnerable. When I started getting published, I went to my local comic book shop and I said, "Hey, my book is in my book's in previews, things like that. I appreciate if you could order it." And he kind of said to me, he goes, well, Dirk, he goes, the issue with you is, he goes, you're on the road so much. And he goes, and you do a lot of direct sales. He goes, I don't want to stock a book that won't sell. And I remember I was so hurt. I literally threw my arms out and I said, yes, God forbid you have books on the shelves that don't sell, because I'm looking at, 5 extra copies of Batman and 5 extra copies. And here's a store I poured thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into for years. And I went to every week, but his knee-jerk reaction was, well, I don't want to have books on the shelf that don't sell. And I'm like, you can't sell it if you don't have it, right? And there's the paradox. I think we're going to see, well, maybe we'll get to that later, but I would say an evolution in the direct market about the stores that are surviving. We're seeing a lot of comic book shops close right now. The other issue with the direct market to that point is, again, you look at someone like me, who for 20 years, I, by and large, do creator-owned work. Again, smaller press publishers, Ape Comics, Image Comics. I mean, I don't know if you call them small press or not, but if for argument's sake, Devil's Due, now Source Point Press, right? I'm kind of like the small furry mammal, scurrying around and things like that with what I do. And what I have found time and time again, and it didn't matter if I was with Devil's Due, even when I was at Image, the Source Point Press, I would market and I would push, hey, my new book is coming out in comic book stores. I primarily do a first release of my books on Kickstarter to cater directly to my active fan base. And even in doing Kickstarter, I offer Kickstarter exclusive hardcovers because I know that the direct market does not want a hardcover from a creator-owned guy that they may not know, right? So I offer a premium edition of the book, a first printing. I'll go to this one, right? Exclusive cover. If you get Cthulhu, right? If you get Cthulhu Jr. in the stores, you get the same book, but it's a soft cover, different cover. But if you're a fan of my work, you want to get the variant cover, the limited edition hardcover, you can get it through me. The reason I do Kickstarters the way I do, by offering premium hardcover editions of the book with variant covers and all that cool stuff, was specifically to not isolate the direct market. You can still get, if you want to buy in at a retailer pledge level and get some exclusive hardcovers at a little higher end, a little higher cost, cool. Otherwise, my theory was you can instead get the standard edition, a little bit lower cost, trade paperback, and push this book to your readers, make it available to your readers. What I have found, and this is as a creator, again, that doesn't write for Marvel, doesn't write for DC, I would have people go to a comic book store and say, hey, I would like to order Tales of Mystery Volume 5. Okay, there's a book. This book clearly exists. It has a notable publisher in the direct market, Source Point Press. They would go to a store and say, there's this book out. I want to order a copy of this book. And I've heard this from all over the country. Some comic book stores say, well, we don't do special orders. And the reason given, and in fact, Evan Dorkin, who's probably most famous for Milk and Cheese, but he did a comic strip called Dork. And he has this whole bit that encapsulates this perfectly. Kid goes in and says, I want to pre-order this comic. And the guy says, well, what if I pre-order it and you don't come pick it up? And the kid goes, okay, well, I'll just give you the money now so that you know it's paid for. He goes, oh, what? Then you expect me to hang on to it? Do you come back in? Where am I going to put it? Now I'm going to keep track of it for you. Right? And it becomes, again, this big Kafka-esque Byzantine, absurd thing. But I've seen that happen. I have people go to comic book stores trying to order my books, and they're like, well, I had that personally happen, being a horror comic guy, when I went to order the first issue of The Walking Dead. Again, I'm not trying to throw shade at remember, when Walking Dead #1 came out, Image Comics was kind of in the doldrums a little bit, right? And here I am trying to order a black and white horror comic, a first issue from a relatively unknown creator. I think at that point, maybe he did something with like Eric Larson or something previously, or that was about, very, Battle Pope made as well, little stuff. And I go to and again, I'm not trying to bury my comic shop because they have come around. They've been very supportive of me. I've done signings there and things like that. But I remember going in and said, hey, I saw a preview of this horror book coming out through Image, The Walking Dead. I want to get the first issue and check it out. Yeah, we really don't order a lot of those unknown Image books. Wow. I'm like, here's my $3. I have a pull, order it and put it in my slot. Okay. But that's how hard I had to push to get the first issue of a book, which became a cultural phenomenon. Mm. So when you ask what are the cons of the direct market, again, we have wonderful comic book stores out there. Next weekend, I'm doing a signing at Pack Rat Comics in Hilliard, Ohio. They're doing a Waffles with the Writer event. They're doing a free chicken and waffles buffet, and come in and we can talk about writing comics and stuff in support of the release of the new edition of Right or Wrong that I wrote.
Dude, I'll be there.
Yeah. Take a road trip, dude. It's gonna be amazing. Jen King over at Space Cadets Collection, and there's countless cool stuff. I'm not gonna start making a list because we'll run out. But as a creator of independent comics, we want to support comic book stores, but we also have to find ways to help get them to support us too. Because otherwise, I'm going to go to Kickstarter. I'm going to sell my books that way. But you can make the money too. How can I be making, $15,000 on this book, $130,000 on this book, $20,000 on this book, $30,000 on Kickstarter? It clearly is selling, right? But are you willing to take away a little bit of money and maybe order a couple extra copies of a corporately owned comic that you're going to remainder out for 25 cents at a con anyway, and push that into some unknown creators? Find out who's in your region. Find out who you can bring in for a signing for Free Comic Book Day, or just diversify your assets a little bit.
Yeah.
Einstein said it best. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, different results. If you're always ordering 30 issues of a corporately owned comic and only ordering 20, order 20, or maybe order 22, and then push that money somewhere else and diversify, but then promote it. I'll say this last thing, I'll shut up. Same comic book shop told me a very valuable lesson in business, and I think it sums it up perfectly. Many, many years ago, there's a small Dirk Manning. I went to the comic shop and I was looking for a specific comic, and I looked at the wall and he was out of it. And he's like, oh, hey, how's it going? I said, oh, good, but I was looking for the new issue. Gosh, I think it was like Ghost Rider back in the day. I'm looking for the new Ghost Rider. And I see, and I see you sold out of it already. And I kind of was still a bit of shade. I'm like, I really wanted to come buy it from you. And he goes, Dirk, let me tell you a secret. Books make me no money sitting on the shelf. That was real powerful, right? But I think that's another business aspect we need to consider here. Not only, again, we can talk about this for hours, so I'll cap myself. But I think the cons of the direct market come down to the comic book store is going to survive. They're going to become boutique stores that know their audience, that are familiar with the industry as a whole, not just the corporately owned stuff, and continue to market and direct and push that stuff.
Dirk, how do you consider, when you put out your books, the direct market in that case? Is it secondary? Is it tertiary? Like where in your priority, because you mentioned Kickstarter is going to be your first spot, right? From there on, how do you think about the direct market? Is that supplemental? Is that you're just ensuring that you're covering all bases? Like what is the direct market in your mind?
My goals as a creator is to make sure that anybody that wants to get my books can get them as easily as possible. Kickstarter is the way to be an early adapter, get the cool deluxe version, right? I see the direct market as honestly, in regards to my business model, it's supplemental. I do conventions. I sell books that way. I have more. I'm like a band in a way, right? I go to different towns. I put on a performance at a convention, a concert, make an appearance for a couple of days. I meet new readers that way. I meet existing readers that way. But right now, the direct market is very soft. It's soft for everybody. Everybody. It's soft right now. And to me, it's just supplemental. because ultimately who I am selling to in the direct market is not readers, it's store owners.
Mm-hmm.
How do I get store owners to realize your people might really like Tales of Mystery. Your people might really like Cthulhu Jr. Your people might really like Butts and Seats. Your people might really like Hope, etc., 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 right? Ultimately, who I'm selling to is through comic book stores. It's not readers. I reach readers through social media. I reach readers by hanging out with you guys. I reach readers by going to conventions and having a nice setup. And people walk by and say, "Oh, you're right, man. They horror comics. I like horror. Oh, cool." You know. And the secondary market at this point is supplemental to me. I would like it to be more. We'll see what happens. Right.
It's hard though, because when in direct market and comic book shops run on such thin profit margins that they're just risk averse. And like
Absolutely.
it's understandable, but it sucks.
That's it. And that's why I'm not mad. But the thing is too, it's like, again, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. And for every Dirk Manning that's out there, there's 100 other creators saying the same thing. Put me in, coach. Give me a chance. Market. Buy my books. People will like them. No one makes a comic book and says, this book will be okay. Right? So instead, it's like, it's very, very tough. And you have to do things to kind of build your brand, build brand awareness, have high quality product, make it accessible, and then convince store owners, hey, shave a little bit of money off that corporate stuff and push it over here. But even then, you're asking them to do that 3 months in advance. Then 3 months later, you got to circle back around and say, okay, the book is now hitting shelves. Haunted High-On's Curse of the Green Book is now hitting shelves. Now remember, 3 months ago, you believed in this book. Make sure people know what it is now. And you're right, the profit margins are so slim on comic books and anything that's printed on paper that a lot of our comic book store owner friends are living day to day.
Yeah.
Right. And the Spider-Mans and the Batmans and things like that, the X-Men's and all that stuff. It may not be ideal, but at least it's safe and it's consistent and it keeps the lights on.
And to your earlier point, you mentioned, the habit, right? I think the store owner caters to the habit, to the creature of their store. I don't think, and maybe it comes down to that fostering of community. How do I foster a community that is more open to getting a new book, to seeing a shelf and saying, "Hey, I've never seen this. I already got my my issue of Spider-Man, X-Men, and Batman this week. How do I, as a store owner, help facilitate an environment where, okay, you got your books, but also check this thing out. I know this creator, Hope is really, really good. I think you should give it a shot."
Right.
But
think of all the steps to get to that point where you just said.
Right. Yeah.
They gotta go ahead. Sorry.
No. Yeah, and I think especially for somebody who is just built in, is the Wednesday warrior, right? I know exactly where my books are going to be. I was going to be on the bottom shelf because I know that I missed last week's book for this thing, top shelf for this thing, and I go to the register.
Yep.
I mean, if you're a Wednesday budget, and if you're a Wednesday warrior, you probably already have the books pulled for you beforehand.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you're not even browsing the shelves at that point.
On my list.
Yeah.
Right. And Sean, you made a very powerful point earlier about paper. Ultimately, book people like the thing, And again, I feel like a walking commercial right now. And I apologize, but I just haven't had stuff here. So this was a limited edition hardcover of Haunted High-On's, a Twisted Haunted High-On's Curse of the Green Book. Leather bound, gold, right? Hardcover, nice. Limited, right? But this is the type of thing that makes book people drool. This was limited edition. You could only get it directly through them in a Kickstarter style model. Otherwise, if you want this book, you can still get it, but you get the trade paperback edition, which again is fine. But paper people like the artifact. We like the thing. We like to hold it. I'm like, oh, I got this leather bound edition of the book. Oh, that's so cool, right? So that's one of the things too, is that we need to, I think the comic book stores and the direct market are going to survive, are going to be catering to the market of people who want the thing. They want what you see behind me, bookshelves full of books. I want to hold it. I want to touch it. I want to feel it in my hands. Right. But again, the profit margin on that is slim. Paper costs are through the roof right now. Shipping costs are through the roof right now. It's tough. I have, as hard as I may sound like I'm being on the direct market, I also understand the very, very difficult economic realities they're facing. It's tough. It's tough right now, but we do this because we love it.
And I think that last point about we do it because we love it is something that is shared among everybody who partakes in comics, right? Like, it doesn't really matter what side of it you're on, whether you're a retailer, a fan, a creator, whatever. We all love comics, and we're all in it for that reason. The problem is that, some aspects of, the direct market, some aspects of comic book shops can test an individual's love of comics and of this industry. So here's something that I think is crazy in the direct market, right? And it's kind of been touched on through this conversation, but I want to put a bullet on it. If I want to buy, let's say, just as a random example, don't look too far into it, the Marvels, right, on Blu-ray, and I want to go to Best Buy and do that, I can go to pretty much any Best Buy on the planet Earth, and I'm going to walk in, I'm going to say I want the Marvels, or I'm not even going to say it, I'm just going to see it, and I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to go to the front, and I'm going to pay for it, and that's going to be it. They're not going to talk to me about why I shouldn't watch this movie because it has 3 women as the main characters and how black women suck, and that's not going to come up. They're not going to talk to me about Trump. They'll get fired, right? That they wouldn't risk themselves doing that. That'd be insane. The person that works at Best Buy is only a representative of Best Buy. That's all that they are. They're a worker. When you go to a comic book shop, you are dealing with the personality of the shop, which is dictated by the people that own it and the people that work there. And for some kinds of people, that can be horrible, right? If you live in, we talked about, I think his name was Phil Boyle. Yeah, we talked about Phil Boyle, who owns a shop in South Florida, and he was saying that, his shop goers don't want to see all these diverse characters, and they don't want, all these pushes for, diversity in comics. That's not what they want. So imagine if you are a woman and you go to that shop and you want to buy Captain Marvel, and you pick it up and you go to the front, and the very same person who you are trying to pay for a comic book is telling you not to buy it. And they're telling you not to buy it, not because it's bad. They don't even know if it's bad. They probably haven't even read it. They're telling you it's bad because of their agenda and their personal feelings. Why the fuck would I want to go to a store to be told what I should and should not buy based on what someone else thinks? I'm a woman. I want to go buy a comic book. I didn't come here to get accosted. It happens all the time.
Is this why you go to Midtown Comics? Because you get no interaction?
I love it. I don't actually want that interaction. I really don't. I'm awkward and I'm tired. Okay. And I just want to go from point A to point B, and that's it. I don't want a middleman. Yeah. Comic book store owners and workers are middlemen between what I want and what they have. And you have to go through their bullshit to get it. Sometimes
it's funny you mentioned that, and then I think of like an old comic book shop that it's closed down since, but like the people there would argue with the guy who owned the shop, and honestly I think everyone loved it from both sides, but I think it was a bit of a masochistic relationship. But yeah, there are personalities you have to deal with in these smaller comic book shops, which are beneficial when they foster, a positive environment. But sometimes it can be like, oh no, that's the creepy comic book shop you don't go to, but it's the only one I have. So
We had a guest on the show, Claire Napier. She's a great editor, and she came on and she talked about how she went to when she was a little girl, a young girl, she went to a comic book shop and it smelled like cat piss. They had big posters of scantily clad women characters from comics, and I forget what exactly the comment was that was made to her, but it made her feel uncomfortable and she never went back. How many people are there like that who have been alienated from this industry simply by the people who are supposed to sell comics? What the hell is going on?
When we were talking about the cons of comic book shops, I was trying really, really hard not to go down this road, but you kick the door open. Oftentimes what we see is people that operate comic shops. Maybe there's some amazing entrepreneurs in the comic book world, but oftentimes this market attracts people that open comic shops because they love comics.
Yes.
And the comic book stores that we see that are successful have a strong entrepreneurial aspect to them. And to your point, Best Buy does not allow people to editorialize or accost because you are alienating your customers. I don't care what you're buying, says Best Buy, buy it so we make our money back off of it. And we want to give you a pleasant enough experience that you come back. Again, I think that's one of the things that I see so much in Comic-Cons. And I think the reason I'm so successful at Comic-Cons is because of the fact that, to your point, Sean, it's a place that anyone can go. And if they want to explore new comics, they can walk around Artist Alley. The aisles are wide enough. They're not going to get, there's always these carnival barker chumps, but people can walk around and browse and look at stuff and things like that. But you're exactly right. Comic shops in the direct market are oftentimes fiefdoms. And you're right. And so many of them have a very distinct personality, whether we're the elitist, cool hipster place or we're the cat piss basement, right? What's fascinating about comic shops, and this is a strength as much as it can be a con sometimes, is they all have their own flavor. They all have their own aesthetic. They all have their own vibe. Right. And a lot of times when I'm traveling, on the road, if I get time and if I'm driving, I try to find a local comic shop and go in incognito. I just go in like this, a t-shirt, maybe have a baseball hat on, and suddenly people don't recognize me because I'm not that guy in the suit. And I love just to walk around and see what they stock. And I always try to pick something up, but it's interesting sometimes where I can be in a store for 20 minutes and no one says a word to me. Well, other times people come up and, hey, how's it going? If you need anything particular, let me know, and things like that. It's because they're all small businesses and they all have that vibe. But you're right. Oftentimes more and more we get people that love comics and maybe believe in comics, but you need to have a business mindset about this. It's the comic. If you're running a comic book store, it's the comic book business. And if you're a comic book creator, it's the comic book business. Now, whether you're a guy that gets Warner Brothers to pay you to write about Captain Spandex, or whether you're someone like me who does independent stories, they create their own content, it's still a business. And you have to treat it like a business to sustain. That's just how it works. And you have to have good business practices to do that. Sorry.
And the thing I see is that some people don't treat it like a business as much as they treat it like an extension of their collection.
Yes.
Where it's like, did you just not have enough room in your house for comics, so you open a comic book store?
Right. They have no interest in selling it. Right. They just want to display it.
Yeah.
I mean, the first comic book shop ever in existence was opened by a fan. And most of them are owned and operated by fans. There's nothing wrong with that. But what happens is, like you guys are pointing out, it really becomes a lot about that person. It's not, Tyler said this earlier, it's not a monolith. Comic book stores are owned by individuals, and by and large, they're not chains. So you're really getting whatever that person feels like putting out to you. But let's move away from, for a moment, the the negatives of the people that work at the shops. Let's just talk about how that idea could negatively impact the industry as a whole. And I think that there are some ways in which the direct market, just the way it exists, hurts the industry. So when you look at what's trending right now in comics, it's not big two, right? Like, they're not on the upswing right now. But when you go to the comic book shop, that's mostly what you're going to see. That's what they're pumping. And again, they are the person who is most likely, you're more likely to find out about new books that you want from your comic book shop than pretty much anywhere else. We already established on this podcast, most people don't even seem to know what's coming out the week the books are coming out until they go to the shop. Even if you have a pull list, it's established. So it's whatever you bought the month before, you'll get the next issue of that. Right? So how do you find out what's coming out? When I go to Midtown, the only thing they have to show me what's coming out is this long sheet, right? And if I look at that long sheet, I'll see the new books. That's all they got for me. Or I guess previews, but I have been reading comics for almost 20 years. I've never in my life picked up a copy of previews. It's not something I do. Never. I'll tell you this. I'll shock you even more, Dirk Manning. I have never in my life pre-ordered a comic book. Never.
Wild.
You have a pull list, Sean?
I don't have a pull list, and I have never pre-ordered a comic book.
But what do you do if like they don't have the thing you want? Like, there's never been something that you are so invested in you want to make sure they hold you a copy? I'm just asking.
You're as complacent as Midtown is.
I absolutely am as complacent as Midtown is, and no, Dirk, that's never really happened. This week, for example, I was, we had to read the Flash for Pals Pulls, and they didn't have Flash #3, so I just didn't get it.
No way.
Yeah, I just didn't get it, and it is what it is.
You went on a Wednesday to Midtown Comics, and they didn't have the Flash
because of Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, geez, they only that's still wild.
It's insane.
But to be fair, Midtown Comics, New York City, you live in a place where by and large, you can expect that they're going to have what you want.
Right. Yes.
Right.
My experience is a bit different.
That's very different than someone that maybe has to drive 20, 30 minutes in the Midwest to the local comic shop. Again, I go back to The Walking Dead #1. I'm like, you probably won't have this. Please make sure you order it. Or again, a lot of my readers, they go to a local comic shop. I know that you're not naturally inclined to get this Dirk Manning guy, but please order this book for me. That just, but Midtown is a store that every time I go to New York Comic Con, I go to Midtown, I see my books there.
Yeah.
They order everything. But again, but Flash is, to your point, Flash is a book that's on a major uptick right now. A lot more people are picking it up because you have to order the books 3 months. The Midtown has to order the books 3 months in advance. They didn't expect this book to blow up like it did. And by the time you get there Wednesday, sold out. I'm sure they'll get more. But
what? And by the way, for what it's worth, I am able to always get your books from Midtown. It's pretty nice. The ones that I don't buy from you directly.
Right.
But in what other industry that you can think of, do you have to press the owner of the store to get what it is that you want? You don't have to go to Best Buy and tell them that they need to stock the Marvels DVD because they're going to stock the Marvels DVD. It is what it is. And even if you go to Best Buy and say, hey, I want this really obscure album that you would never have, they wouldn't listen to you because you're one person. So the fact that readers, consumers, have to put in legwork in this industry is a very, very bad sign for this industry. You should not have to do that. The fact that creators like Dirk, like even from where Dirk is at to where Ram V's at, right? They're both doing the same thing. They're both going on X or Twitter or Facebook or whatever and saying, hey, please pre-order my book. You would think, Oh, well, Rom works at DC. What, he doesn't have to do that. No, he definitely does.
Hustle.
Definitely does.
Yes. Yeah, 1,000 times yes.
I think that's just one of the negatives of having a niche hobby, honestly, because like that's the same for people who collect vinyl. You know, I worked at a Barnes and Noble, and we did special orders for people because they collected CDs. You know, it was like classical music CDs. This one guy, we would special order in like multiple copies, and he would pick out the right one that he wanted. So it is I think part and parcel though with you having this very specific hobby that's a collector's hobby.
Yeah. I'm going to take this one step farther. Books, prose novels. Do any of you here know what 90%, and the number may be a smidge off, but approximately 90% of all prose novels published have in common?
They come out through Penguin.
Right, no, in theory, right. Approximately 90% of every prose novel published ever sells less than 100 copies in the direct market.
What?
That's believable.
Huh.
It's believable.
So when we talk about that need for that grind and that hustle and that promotion, that's what we're talking about. Because again, through Penguin Random House, through Lunar, through Diamond, through the comic book stores, through the direct market, I'm not selling to the customers. I'm selling to the store owners. And if a movie gets made of something I've done, or my publisher decides they're going to give me a big push and somehow buys ad space or you know, whatever, or moves the levers that need to be moved to get store owners to invest in me, then the store owners may decide to be like a sponge and soak up more of the books that I have available. But again, ultimately, it's like you must push yourself. And that's why you see this model. I've talked about this for years. You have people that create their-own books. You know, here, let me tell you the schema of being a comic book creator. Almost every book comic creator that you ever know has followed this trajectory. Self-publish, small press, large small press, right? So they go from self-publishing, then maybe they go to like a smaller publisher, maybe then they get picked up by like an Image Comics or something like that. From there, most creators will then lobby to write for one of the big two, for Marvel or DC. And for a long time, for a lot of creators, that was the end goal. That was the end game. I'm going to write Spider-Man. I'm going to write Batman. And even when they get to Marvel or DC, they started a D-list book, they moved to a C-list, a B-list, and then maybe eventually an A-list. Whether it be they're good enough or they kiss enough ass, whatever the case may be, that's what happens, right? Then what we've seen happen is those creators jump from Marvel and DC back to creator owned. And if they can take 25% of that built-in market they've got, not only in readership, but from store owners, their creator owned books are now infinitely more successful.
Yeah.
That's the trajectory you see over and over and over again. But when you think about how that fits in the direct market, I mean, that's how you game the system. That's how I get a Midtown Comics or an Oh Yeah Comics or whatever, some store that maybe I don't have a direct relationship with personally to order my books. I got to become a known quantity to them. And oftentimes in the direct market, creators are only seen as worth investing in if they've written Ultimate X-Men. Mm. Make no mistake, when did Robert Kirkman blow up? It wasn't by publishing The Walking Dead. The TV show helped, but there was something in the middle.
His Marvel work.
Zombies.
Yeah.
His Marvel work. And before it was Marvel Zombies, what was it? Sleepwalker.
Yeah, he did Irredeemable Ant-Man.
Yeah, and they did Irredeemable Ant-Man with Phil Hester, right? You know, and up and up and up, and Destroyer, right? Did a couple other little things in there too, which were really good. Now, obviously, any creator, they get better as they go, right? Clearly.
Hopefully.
However, hopefully. But I'll never forget, years and years ago, I did a Comic-Con that ended up being a total dud but Eric Powell was there. Eric Powell is one of my all-time favorite creators. I love his books. Personally, professionally, really good dude. And the con was so dead on a Saturday afternoon. I was able to walk over to Eric's table and we were just able to chat for like an hour. Wow. Yeah, it was a bad scene, right? Bad scene for all of us. The fact that I didn't have business. I mean, I was like watching my tables, like there's no one even here. It doesn't matter. I could throw a bag of hammers and not hit anybody. But the fact that Eric Powell didn't have business for an hour just tells you the show's bad. But at that point, I had felt that as a creator-owned person, I had gotten almost as big as I could based on what I was doing. And I know Eric had recently done, I think it was Action Comics. He did a run on a 4-issue arc on that, the Bizarro story. And I remember asking him, I said, hey man, I said, I told him, I said, I feel I've gotten as big as I can get with the capital I have. Online, people know who I am or they don't. I'm one of the OGs of online comics. I've done all this stuff and I'm doing some Kickstarters. I'm doing well, but I need to take it to that next level. And I asked him specifically, I said, do you have any advice as another independent guy who's done this about if I want to make the leap and start writing corporate comics, what do I do? Like, how should I approach this? I'm not crazy about this idea, but if I got to make that jump to get store owners in the direct market to then invest in my creator-owned work, what do I do? And he said something very profound. He said, if you're going to go write for corporate comic book companies, he goes, make sure you're working on titles that will then, those readers will be more likely to transfer to your creator-owned work. And he said, here's why. I hope I'm not talking out of school here. And if that's the case, and Eric, and if you see this, and if I shouldn't be saying this publicly, I apologize, but this was a very valuable life lesson. He said, I did a 4-issue Bizarro arc on Superman with Jeff Johns, who's a direct market darling, right? And he said, you know what I found out? People that read Superman have no interest in reading a book about a buck-toothed gangster that fights zombies. His art on that Bizarro arc was great. It was fun. It was so Eric Powell. And I'm sure he had fun, I imagine, drawing Bizarro and stuff. But he got no discernible bump on the Goon because people read this Bizarro thing and go, oh, what else has Eric Powell guy done? Oh, this isn't Superman. I'm okay. So he said, if you're going to do that and get more eyes on you in the direct market, make sure it's transferable. Right? Which is, again, like Kirkman, it's when he did Marvel Zombies, what did people pay attention to? Oh, he does another zombie book. I'm going to check this out. Holy crap, this is really good. Oh, there's a TV show. Frank Darabont's doing it. But again, ultimately, in the direct market as an independent creator, as someone that makes primarily creator-owned stuff, you have to figure out, you have to make sure that if your ultimate goal is still to sell your creator-owned work, that there's that discernible connection. I learned that from Eric Powell. That was something very, very powerful. And I hope that provides some perspective from the creator side about how we do it. And ultimately, the other thing I decided personally is, and this is going to sound a little bit cocky, and I apologize, but I do okay doing it my way. I don't necessarily need to go enter that whole world of the corporate comic ecosystem. I've flirted with it a little bit. I've had some opportunities. I'm not saying I would never do it, but I have so much time. And I have so much time, so much energy to put into this. And yeah, the paycheck is nice. But at the end of the day, I personally am at a point where it's going to take a certain amount of value to me to move away from writing the next Tales of Mystery or the next Hope or working with a Cheney estate, to go do a corporately owned superhero book. I'm not saying never. I'm not even shitting on it. There's some great superhero books out there. But again, it's a business mindset. It's a business mindset. What am I going to get out of this? And to be fair, what are they going to get out of it?
Yeah.
And to that, even, sorry, Sean, to your point, if your ultimate goal is to just bounce right back into the corporate comics, can you even assure that the value you're going to bring to the book brings you back a percentage of the value you need to have made the bump worth it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And ultimately, again, It comes down to the point, the direct market. Will store owners say, he did a really good job on that Captain X book for a while? Oh, he's now doing a book through SourcePoint Press or a book through Image or a book through whatever creator-owned Dark Horse, whatever creator publisher. I'm going to check that out. Again, you have to assume that they read Captain X. They're willing to then invest in the new book through another publisher and things like that. There's all these steps. And to your point, Sean, then what happens is if you say, I really liked Dirk Manning's run on Captain X, I heard he's got a new book out through SourcePoint Press. And if you go into your comic store and they don't have it, you said it yourself. I don't get it. Now, if you're invested enough, you'll hunt it down. Maybe you'll finally, ask them to order something for you. Or you look online or you go to Amazon or whatever. And again, comic book stores hate Amazon. I get it. But to your point, Amazon will have it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how they win. That's how they win the game. And I get it. There's a whole ecosystem there of capitalism stuff. And they have the money to do this. But it's a complicated thing.
Personally, Dirk, I like your Captain Spandex stuff better than your Captain X stories, but it's separate.
Hey, I get there's people that know me for Right or Wrong. There's people that know me for Nightmare World. There's people that know me for my work with Twisted. Hey man, whatever you like of mine, I appreciate that you like it.
It's funny because I actually encountered you as an advice giver through your column at I think it was at Newsarama when I was the Right or Wrong book, which it became the book. I encountered you that way before I encountered you as a writer of comics, which is so weird. But I want to say this, and then I want to get to the listeners because we have so many comments on this topic. You guys have been fantastic. The comments are rolling in. We will let you guys have your say here in a moment. I also want to say, make sure you guys are smashing that like button. We're just a few likes away from our goal to make sure that we can do a draft a little bit later. And also,
I really, really want to do the draft. So please hit the like button. I begged Sean. I said, I want to do a comic draft.
And also a heroforhope.com. We're going to talk more about that with Dirk in just a moment. But I want to make this point. We've talked about the pros. We've talked about the cons of the direct market. I have a different theory. I think that the direct market is different now. I think that the direct market as we know it, what we call it, its origins, no longer apply. To me, the direct market is now reaching out to fans directly as a creator, whether that's through Kickstarter, whether that's through Comic-Con events, whether that's through Facebook, whether that's through a newsletter, whatever it is. That's the new direct market. You cut out the middleman altogether, and it's you and it's your audience. And that's it. And now you don't have to worry about appeasing a shop owner who's down with Comicsgate. You don't have to worry about the fact that they're going to get your book and not know how to push it. All that stuff's out the window. The direct market was created so that the comic book publishers could have direct access to the audience. That's all it means. Direct market. So now the direct market to me is creators and fans. That's how things have changed. That is why a Dirk Manning can do a Kickstarter and sell and have it be $15,000, $30,000 in sales, but get told no by Joe Schmo who runs a comic book shop. That's why.
And that's interesting because just reflecting on my own comics habits post-pandemic, I started working from home, so I wouldn't go to the office. I didn't have that LCS experience, and so I lost sort of keeping up with my weekly books outside of stuff that I moved to Comixology a bit more frequently, and some of the stuff that I would typically pull off the stands just for extra, I didn't have. I wouldn't have that opportunity as much as I would, being able to look at something and then whatever, pull it, right? And now I've been going to conventions a bit more since they've been coming back, and that's where I've been picking up books because I enjoy the aspect. I like talking to a Dirk, right? Or I like talking to Dirk and creators like him, and those are the things that I want now more as a creator than to go to my LCS, pick up the issue of X-Men that we need to read either for the show or for my own pleasure. It's more interesting now to have and form the relationships with creators because they've become so accessible. There isn't a huge window of, or there isn't this huge like moat in between us. And maybe there hasn't been because conventions have always existed, or have existed for so long. But I think now, if I want to support a creator more directly, yeah, I can. It's easy. It's
I mean,
accessible.
we talked to Bryce Gold last week, head of comics at Kickstarter. Comic books and board games are the most booming parts of Kickstarter.
Yep.
So the want is there for sure.
Yeah, people just don't want to go through the rigmarole of all that it takes to get your hands on a comic, to the point where they're willing to, jump on a Kickstarter where you might not even get your what you ordered for months. It's sometimes even years. Like I've gotten certain things from Kickstarters that I've been a part of, and I've been like, what even is this? When did I jump? I don't even remember getting this. Like, what is this? Not your stuff, Dirk. But other creators, like, it comes, even if it comes late, I'm like, I don't care. I wanted this. I wanted to support this person. So yeah, I just think the direct market has changed, and I think that, going to your LCS is great. You should still do that. We need to do that. And I think LCSs have to reevaluate the way that they approach this business, approach it as a business. That would help. But we can't solve the problem of this because every LCS is unique unto itself. So go ahead.
No, I was going to say though, to that point though, I really, I was giving like the jazz hands and to what you were saying, because I think you did offer a potential solution. Comic book stores need to be the direct conduit to the creators and even the publishers that the people want. And if I know as a customer, I can go in and say, hey, I was watching my favorite comic book podcast, the Comics Pals, and they had this Dirk Manning guy on. And I would like to order something from this guy. If that comic book store owner just says, okay, well, let's look in Lunar, let's look in Diamond, whatever. Okay, here's the books he has. Which one do you want? And they say, oh, I want, let me get that Tales of Mystery Omnibus. That sounds cool. I like horror stuff. They say, great. It's this much money. I'll have it for you in a week. Come back in a week and I'll have it for you. And they can build that trust. And again, maybe the customer pays for half. Maybe they pay for it up front. And then hey, I'll call you when it comes in. Or I'll send you a text, or whatever, I think that our comic book stores to become that boutique place, like record stores used to be back in the day, and arguably like comic stores used to be back in the day, and become our direct market to support books, creators, and publishers. Sean, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that we can really, I think we will see stores that do that continue to thrive. The industry will grow. Creators will grow. Diversity in comics will grow. Diversity of voices will grow. And I think we'll be in a much better place, because not do I love comics, I believe in comics. And anyone that bets against comics and comic creators is foolish. We're going to be here. We're going to be here. And if someone wants to open a storefront and be a conduit to that, I think I speak for every comic creator on earth. We want to help you do it.
Yes.
Work together. So appreciate you saying that.
Love it. And we'll leave it there for that part of the conversation. But I do want us to get to the listeners and let you guys have your say. You guys have been amazing. Some love for Dirk. Dan and Harris both saying that Dan said he used to see you at Motor City Comic Con for years, so that's really cool. Harris says Dirk was one of the best people to meet at NYCC.
Thank you.
So that's awesome.
Thank you.
Atomic Hound made a few great points. He said, can we sell them in bags and get them to buy two to keep one mint, in reference to the schemes that have been, going on. And, it's a dance that comic book shops and publishers are playing as far as variants go. But Atomic Hound also said, what Dirk is describing for The Walking Dead also benefits the LCS by creating scarcity that the LCS later capitalizes on, hence back issue prices soar.
I disagreed with that one because I think that presumes that a book's going to pop off later. and I don't think you have the foresight initially. Like I think it was a stronger point that Dirk made of just, well, I don't know if this book is going to sell. Why should I stock it?
Atomic Count has a very specific and particular point of view because of the fact that I think he shared this publicly. I'm so sorry if he didn't. His LCS owner benefited a lot, we'll say, from the scarcity of The Walking Dead early on.
Okay.
I was the only person in my town to order it because, again, Image was not doing well at the time, and that's why that book became a scarcity commodity. You know, so yeah, and then I'm never going to be mad at people for making money, but it becomes an interesting dance. We'll leave it at that.
It seems weird to gamble in a business that has such tiny margins of error.
It's all a gamble.
I mean,
it's
true,
literally
yeah,
all
yeah.
a gamble.
Yeah.
We talked last week about, and we're going to talk about it again a little bit, how if you're a shop owner and you miss by you ordering 5 extra copies than you needed to have, that could be a huge problem for you. So it's a gamble literally every month or every week. How many copies can I actually sell? Anything you don't sell is a huge problem because no returnability. Living in a medium-sized U.S. city, does the monopoly some LCSs enjoy cause complacency? Yes, I think so. There's just not that much competition, right? You might have one LCS within, an hour of you. And that's the only game in town. And that's brutal because they're going to control the market and they know that you have nowhere else to go.
I wonder if they can control their audience too, in the sense that I buy a certain number of this book, and so I know that I can cater tastes because I've stocked up to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Well, my local comic shop, again, I feel bad. I was kind of throwing a little bit of mud at him earlier, but so many times over the years, he would say, look, you need to read this. And push them in my hands. We had that relationship, like, okay, right on. So again, there is a lot of positive we had in the direct market, and that's important too, right? That recommendation. We all know, whether it be restaurants, music, movies, whatever it may be, the strongest leverage point is peer-to-peer recommendations.
Yeah, word of mouth.
And honestly, I feel bad for our comic store owners because there's so many great creator-owned independent comics out there right now. It's hard to keep up, right? You could have you can make a full-time job of just reading creator-owned comics, but even then, you can't get them oftentimes to 3 months later. So it gets tricky. But I believe in comics. I believe in our savvy, open-minded, growth mindset comic book store owners to move the needle for us and to keep us going.
Yeah, and we need it. We definitely need it.
Yes, sir.
We also need you guys, if you're enjoying what we're doing here, to check us out on patreon.com/thecomicspals. We are always giving you bang for your buck. We appreciate everybody that joins us over there. We've got a newsletter that goes out every single week. I talked this week about my stack of comics that are unread and why it is that I cannot control myself from buying just way too many comics every week.
Did you show the stack?
Hell no.
Okay.
Come on.
Look, man, it's not hoarding. It's not hoarding if it's books. It's not hoarding if it's books.
Dirk, you have not seen this pile.
And no one has.
What I said.
No one has seen the actual legitimate pile, but
no one will.
Yeah,
but look,
right.
Are you like me though? Like, I have to have books in my house that I haven't read. It's like a neurological compulsion. And I have to have a variety of books of different genres that I haven't read. Because it's like, maybe if I'm done writing for the night, or maybe I want to take a night off and just read. Maybe I want to read the new Dan Clowes book. Maybe I want to read this horror anthology. Maybe I want to read this. So it's like, I have to have several books in my house that I haven't read yet of different genres, so that when I'm in the mood, I have the thing that I want.
Inspirational strike.
I I wish I could say there was a method to the madness, Dirk, but it's just I went to the shop this week. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna buy as many comics as I did last week, and I didn't because the week before that I bought 20. This week I bought 15. So I did a little bit better, but it's still absolutely insane.
Well, you didn't get Flash.
No, I did not get
You had
Flash.
16 if that was the case, right?
You got that right. I had to stop myself because they actually did have like 1 of 10 variants for like $15, and I was like, do I really want to spend $15 on Flash, which I don't even like? No, and I'm so glad I didn't because I wasn't even on Pals
You had to have
polls.
the conversation with you.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I always have to convince myself not to do that. But on the Patreon page, we do have a lot on offer. So everybody who checks it out, we appreciate you guys so much. One of the things that you do get is a superhero nickname or villain nickname and a shout out on the show. So I want to give a special shout out to the best pals in the universe, Thunderstruck Rebecca Alejandro, Hound of Justice Atomic Hound, and Starcross Catherine Stars. And I also want to say thank you to the Night Stalker Harris Stajinsky, Brian Demolisher Del Pozo, Kefis the Incorruptible, Momentum Mike Elliott, Dan the Truth Trudeau, Joel Justice, who actually just joined us in the chat. Welcome. Jalen the Sanguine Sorcerer, Marvelous Mike and Mackenzie, Marley Manastorm, Slow Flow Dameron, and Amin Almighty Perez. Thank you all so much. You are amazing, and we love you.
Oh,
I also want to say thank you to our channel members, our VI pals. I see those green names in the chat. If you want a green name and if you want timed exclusive access, early access to our evergreen videos that we've been putting out for our channel members every single week, then go ahead and become a VI pal today. If you want to watch this show live, you can do that every Saturday at 10:15 a.m. Eastern, Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern for Pals Polls. You can vote in the listener pick poll, which is up right now. You guys have got some work to do, I have to say, to redeem yourselves, because Flash, that was bad. That was rough.
Thank you to
you guys
everybody.
Should not. Don't ever listen to Marco.
Sean, did you have time? Did you have time to listen?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I did listen.
So you saw me turn the corner on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying.
I'm excited. I'm excited for 4. You know what? The minions of Marco will strike for issue 4.
Whatever. On the poll, which you can vote on youtube.com/thecomicspals under the community tab, we have Birds of Prey, Sacrificers, Thunderbolts, number 1, and Batman Santa Claus for a little bit of holiday spirit. And everything else at the Comics Pals. You guys rock. So I want to spend a little bit of time now chatting with Dirk. So Dirk Manning is very much a friend of ours, a friend of ours for many years. Has been on the show several times. We've done countless Comic-Con interviews, which you guys can check out on YouTube. I mean, we've probably, God, if you take in everything, we've probably done like a dozen.
I was gonna say, I think it's about a dozen times that we've interacted.
Yeah.
One way or another. Oh, there's my girl. There's Hope.
Yes. And so let's talk about Hope. Hope Volume 1 was a shocker to me because I've been a fan of Dirk for well over a decade. It's been like I probably first encountered your stuff like 15 years ago, and it was always horror. So when I found Hope, when I read Hope, and it's, I say it's a horror book in a certain sense, but it's very much a departure in the sense that it's, a woman who is living 2 lives.
Yes.
And it's a very interesting look at motherhood. It's a very interesting look at womanhood. And it's an interesting look at the secrets that we keep from each other and how they can impact our lives. And Dirk brings a lot of reality to it that I appreciated in the first volume. And things have only gotten crazier as we've gotten deeper into the second one. So, Dirk, can you just tell the people what it is that inspired you to want to tell the story of Hope and what they can expect from Hope Volume 2, Masks, which is up right now on Kickstarter.com, a heroforhope.com if you want to partake.
Yeah, and thank you. And I appreciate you being very transparent about the fact that when I announced Hope, a lot of people that were familiar with more of my work, like Nightmare World, Tales of Mystery, Love Stories to Die For, things like that, were kind of like, oh, you're selling out. And I said, you're doing a superhero comic. And I said, no, no, no. I'm not doing a superhero comic. I'm doing a comic about a superhero. Very different. Very different. In fact, Jen King from the XP had this great quote about the book. She said that hope is to superhero comics what The Walking Dead is to zombie comics. It's not about the zombies. It's not about the superheroes. It's about the people. And Hope is a story about a woman named Julie Lavelle who moonlights as a superhero. And in the first 5 pages of the first volume, she has to reveal her secret identity to protect her family during the car accident. And the book and the story is about everything that happens from that moment forward. This is a very dramatic book. It's a very emotionally investing book. And I know a lot of people say this about their work, but I think anyone that read the book can tell you this is a book truly unlike any other, I think, in the genre of superheroics. In all of Hope Volume 1, you never see Hope in costume punch a supervillain. That's not what the book's about. Technically someone gets hit with a chair, but this is just a fair warning, fair notice. This is not a traditional superhero comic. It's a comic about a woman who's a superhero. And what motivated me to write this book is, I mean, there's several themes. I'm going to give a very minor spoiler. And again, this is all within the first issue of the first volume. At the end of the first issue, the first chapter of Hope Volume 1, which again, if people are new to the book, I encourage you to go to heroforhope.com. You can pledge a day. I'm new here too, pledge level. You can get Volume 1, the special edition, trade paperback Volume 1, and the Kickstarter exclusive hardcover edition of Volume 2 with the 7 stretch goals we've unlocked. Double signed by me and the artist. You get a remark sketch. You get a variant cover on the book. You get a bookmark. You get all kinds of cool stuff. That being said, the end of the first chapter of the first volume, which a lot of you may have gotten at Free Comic Book Day a couple years back, Julie's family was in a car accident. She's had to reveal her secret identity as Hope to help protect them. Her husband's in a coma. And the very end of the first chapter, Children's Services comes away and takes her daughter. That's the type of stuff we're dealing with in this book. And not to give, again, too much away, but I think a theme that comes up in Hope is, would they have taken Hope's daughter away if she was a man? If this was a guy, superhero, who got outed and his wife ended up being in a coma in the car accident, would they have taken away his daughter? Or even his son, if it was a son? The tagline, the through line on Hope internally when I write the book is that not all villains can be punched. Right? Oftentimes superhero books, and again, some of my favorite comics are superhero books. I love Invincible. I love The Boys, right? And I've loved them both before they were TV shows, for the record. There's some amazing runs on some superhero books out there. But this is not a book that treads the same ground that most books about superheroes treads. This is not about who's stronger, who's faster, and how am I going to Deus Ex Machina my way out of this. This is about a woman who's navigating a very complex system, and she's a very strong and proud and complex character because she has chosen not to register, which is not illegal. In the world of Hope, people who have superpowers have the option to register, and they get the perks of being a registered superhero. Julie decided early on she didn't want to do that. Her husband didn't know she was a superhero. Her daughter didn't know she had superpowers. She's one of the people that got them, and she decided to keep it private. And over time, she decided, I'm going to go out and just be a good Samaritan. I'm going to help people out, cats and trees type of stuff, Oh, there's a traffic jam, and there's an ambulance stuck in the traffic jam. She's going to go get the ambulance to the hospital. And this is a story about what happens and what she has to deal with not being registered, not meeting societal expectations of what she should be doing as a wife, as a mother, even as a superhero, and her navigating that. There's a point in volume 1 when a friend of hers who's also an Ultra, which is kind of our term for superheroes in the Hope, Helena Boy, says to her, and someone else says to her, if you just registered, things would probably be a lot easier moving forward. And she goes, I shouldn't have to. I don't want to. I shouldn't have to. And that, and again, there's times in the book where you almost want to scream at her, like, but she's a person of principle, right?
Yeah.
One of the driving, and I want to say this too, and I've said this in other interviews about hope, but I think it's very important to say, especially in our current climate and culture. For those of you that are only hearing this, I am a middle-aged white guy. I'm not a woman, and I'm not writing about the experience of being a woman. But I am writing about a woman having an experience. And I have seen friends, and I've seen family members and loved ones who are women have very different experiences in the very same setting that I did as a middle-aged white guy, or even a young white guy. And that is part of the story. But the bigger part of the story is, here's a character, she's had her superhero identity revealed to the world. Volume 1 is largely about her dealing with the immediate ramifications of that, including Children's Services taking her daughter. Volume 2, which is now on Kickstarter, now the supervillains are amassing against her because her identity is public. They know who she is. They know she has a family. They know all this stuff about her. And now, not only is she being tried in the court of literally the legal courts and the court of public opinion, now the supervillains are coming in at her. And that's where we start volume 2. For people that have read volume 1, and to your point, Sean, kind of had that holy crap moment at the end of volume 1, volume 2 picks up immediately where volume 1 left off. And again, you go to heroforhope.com or you go to Kickstarter, just type in hope, then number 2, you'll find the campaign. We have a bundled package. I'm new here too. You can get the whole series to date. If you just want to jump in volume 2, you can do that. We have digital copies of volume 1 and volume 2. You can get both of those as well for those of you who are digital readers. And at the end of the day, as I do with any Kickstarter, the more people that pledge, the more stuff everybody gets. We're sitting close to below, I think, $13,000 as we speak. We got about 6 days left to campaign in next Friday. And I just encourage people, if you're looking for an accessible book, you're looking for a book that's emotionally resonant, you want to support independent comic creators and get a really good book that you can jump in on, still pretty much at the ground floor, Hope's the book for you.
Love it. I recommend it. I've had a lot of fun with it. Volume 1 really knocked me off my feet, just because of how different it was. So I definitely recommend that you guys go to aheroforhope.com and give it a look. I really, really think you'll find a lot to like, and you should probably get volume 1 and 2 just because, why not? And it's so early on that you really can just jump in and, catch up easily. Yeah, go for it. And we've got the link in the chat. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can absolutely just click that link and you will be taken directly to the Kickstarter page.
Thank you. And and again, this is a book that again is very accessible. You don't need a ton of backstory. You can jump in and enjoy it. You made the point earlier about someone going to the comic shops with scantily clad women. This is not a book where you're going to see a lot of TNA, as well. One thing that's been so powerful to me, and again, I'm going to say something vulnerable. When I set up at shows and I have Hope Volume 1 on my table, it blew me away the number of times women would come to my table and walk right to the table and grab this book and look through it, right? And just say, how much is this? I tell them the price, $20. I said, this is a book about, and I give them the quick pitch. They go, okay, here you go. Non-sexualized female characters, right? Again, I'm not trying to have an agenda here or anything like that, but it was something that really showed me how much some readers are starved for that.
Yeah.
And again, there's nothing wrong with being sexy. Not at all, man. And I have a ton of respect for Brian Pulido, who is known for a lot of his very, hypersexualized books and stuff like that. Fun fact, when I was just getting started self-publishing, Brian Pulido wrote an introduction to one of my earliest books, right? I can't say that I'm necessarily a super fan of all that type of stuff, but for what it is, it's awesome, and I got a lot of respect for him. So I'm not trying to make Hope look better by making something else look less than, but I'm just saying as well, this is a book that if you have people in your life that really want to read a book that maybe would have like a non-sexualized female lead character, woman lead character, here's another option for you too, but also for men. That's the other thing. I felt like I was swimming upstream with this book because, one, people mainly knew me for horror. And I tell people, Hope is the scariest book I write. This is a scary book. It really is. Two, it's about a woman lead character. So a lot of times I think a lot of male readers kind of initially kind of push back on that a little bit. And then three, obviously, being a superhero book. Maybe I mentioned that one already. Sorry, it's early in the morning. But but this was a little bit of a different sell. But the reaction that people have had to Hope has been incredibly positive. People really, really dig it. And again, if you're looking for something accessible, easy to read, jump into, then again, this book will get you in the feels. I promise you, this book is going to gut punch you, and it's going to gut punch you a lot. In volume 2, I'll just say this. The end of volume 1 was a huge holy crap moment. The ending of volume 2, I think, is even stronger.
Beautiful. Love it. aheroforhope.com. And I'm excited to get to that point. So I'll definitely be keeping reading. You guys should check it out too. We have a lot of show to do still somehow. And Dirk's going to hang out with us.
Yeah,
so,
thank you.
In order for us to make the draft and make everything happen, we need to roll along. And I want to roll right into a new segment. We're debuting a segment right now. So we have done, this is the 372nd episode of the Comics Pals, which is insane, right?
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And I've been here for all of them.
Day one.
Oh, gee.
Shit, I haven't been here for all of them. I wish I could say that. Maybe one day we'll have to look at a counter to see how many episodes we've each missed. And I think that the person who will be number one in the missed episodes category is the person who's not currently here.
Yeah.
But I had the thought, hey, I wonder what was happening in comics. What comic books that hit that same milestone, because it is a milestone, 372. What was happening in those comic books at that time? And so I picked out one I thought was pretty interesting. Thor, Volume 1, number 372.
Whoa.
Yes, indeed. And this is a really interesting issue of Thor. So this issue of Thor is from the Walt Simonson run, a legendary run. So it's got him and pencils by Sal Buscema. And this issue features the TVA, Time Variance Authority, which of course people will know from Loki. Doesn't really pop up in the comics too much, but it just so happens that this issue of Thor features the TVA, and the particular representatives of the TVA are Justice Peace, which is a phenomenal name. I have no idea who that is. And, although the character looks like Peacemaker.
It's like Peacemaker mixed with Orion.
Yeah.
Right. That's exactly what I was looking at. Right.
And then there's Justice Mills as well. But what I want to do is, so I'm on fandom.com, and they've got the breakdown of the episode, or of the issue rather. And I need to read this. I need to do it. So the issue is called Without Justice, There Is No Peace. And this is the synopsis. Thug has become the new Zaniac and goes to kill Jane Foster. In Chicago, Justice Peace arrives to find he is too late. Thor is right behind him, though, and strikes him down. Justice Peace finally has no choice and tells Thor his story. Thor realizes that Jane is now the Zaniac's target, but Mick and Kevin wake up. Before they can see their mother's dead body, Thor takes them and puts them back to bed and causes them to fall into a deep sleep. Thor and Justice Peace then race to Highland Park, Chicago, but they are too late again. Jane Foster is dead, but one slim hope remains. If there is enough temporal enchantment left in Mjolnir, he can recharge Hopsicle and travel back in time a couple of hours when before Zaniac arrived. They arrived before Thug became the new Zaniac and kill all the vermin, but Thug dies of a heart attack anyway.
What?
Thor places his body on a park bench, so he will appear to be just another vagrant that didn't survive the night.
Holy shit.
What?
Justice Peace returns to the future while Thor checks on Jane. Thor then takes Mick and Kevin to Asgard since they have no other family. There, they're adopted by Volstagg into his own family. Elsewhere, Hela prepares to strike at Thor in revenge for his humiliating defeat of her.
So we talk about the difference between compressed and decompressed comics. This is one issue.
Holy shit!
Yeah, that would be a 6-issue story arc for some writers nowadays. But that's where it's at, man. Just go, all that stuff happening. Right.
So this is 1986, okay? And I said Thug, Zaniac, Mick, and Kevin. Who the fuck is any of those people?
So
Who are Mick and Kevin?
Zaniac is in the Loki show too.
Who?
So it's the name of the movie that one TVA agent, when he leaves, he becomes the Zaniac in the movie.
Yo,
good eye.
Wow.
Great.
I know the name
Tyler.
because I just think of pro wrestling. Like Zaniacs is a thing.
Right.
Sean, apparently this is the first appearance of the TVA.
This is probably a hot collector's item right now then.
Ooh, good pick. Look at that.
People are scouring eBay at this very moment, right?
Yeah. Go grab your copies of Thor.
And this book is sitting at comic shops, whether it be the boutique one or the Cat Biz one, in a dollar bin somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Tyler, maybe your grandmother is bidding on this on eBay right now?
Yeah, maybe. Actually, my friend, they just found a whole stack of comics outside being thrown out in Brooklyn and gave me some of them. And it's the original Secret Wars. So,
wow.
The keys are missing, though, obviously. But it's still cool to have.
Still.
Since this is the first time we're doing this, I wanted to do one more. And it's Avengers number 372.
Ooh.
So this one was released in January of 1994. This is by Bob Harris with pencils by Steve Epting, if you can believe that. And I wanted to shout this out particularly because this is probably the craziest lineup for the Avengers that I've ever seen. It's very different. And so the roster for the Avengers in this particular issue is Black Knight. Okay.
All right.
Black Widow, Captain America.
I thought you were going to say Black Panther. No, sorry, good.
No. There's no one thing this team does not have is diversity.
Okay.
The diversity on this team is actually Vision. They got a robot, so yeah.
All right, fair enough. Sorry, I apologize. Go ahead.
Crystal Maximoff, who I believe is the Inhuman Crystal when she was with Quicksilver. Giant Man, Hercules, Cersei, the aforementioned Vision, and Quicksilver.
Huh.
Yo, this cover kicks ass.
Yeah, this is a crazy cool cover.
The way it's colored is so good. It's funny. Hasbro just released, as part of the Avengers 60th anniversary this year, they released a 2-pack of this Black Knight and this Cersei.
Oh, wow.
That is, and this is lightsaber Black Knight too, where he had an energy sword.
Yeah.
I love this Avengers lineup. This is one of my favorite obscure Avengers lineups.
I knew that, and that's why I wanted to shout this out, because I knew you would love this.
It's everyone has a leather jacket. It's great.
Right. This one Thor was Thunderstrike too, right?
Oh wow, that's a deep cut. That is a throwback.
Like I said, I was kind of I wouldn't think I was poo-pooing corporate comics earlier. I am a fan, and right. It's like if I could anything I can throw a Thunderstrike reference is a good one.
Yeah, that is. Whew, you would win trivia games with that kind of reference. Yeah, let us know what you think of this segment, and if you find before I do a great 373 that we should talk about, we'll do it next week. We'll do 373 next week, and if it works, we'll keep it going. Dan says the 90s featured odd lineups of the Avengers and the Justice League. Yes, I am learning that. I would not read an Avengers book with this lineup in it, but it's fun to talk about.
I might even buy a physical copy if this lineup showed up again.
Just for the cover.
All right.
Quick question. What form of clothing would be around in an Avengers lineup now that would be universal throughout all of it? Leather jackets was the 90s. What would be now? Like
leggings,
clogs,
just Crocs. Everyone's wearing Crocs.
Pants where their name is across the butt.
Yeah. Introducing the new Avenger, Juicy.
Right.
Oh man, imagine the Avengers.
I know we're out of time limit, but real quick, Tyler, you talk about this cover. I learned one of the coolest things about covers during my time at Image Comics with Jim Valentino. And he talked about what makes a great cover is, he goes, take the image, he goes, then put it on a shelf, he goes, and walk 15 feet away from it. And can you tell what's going on? Right. Or he said, look at a thumbnail on your computer. He said, because when you're in a comic shop, that's all you're going to see is like this wall, and you'll see him from far away. And this cover with Black Knight being in the foreground like that, with the blues and things like that, with the yellow explosion in the background, before you even get in to all the other secondary, tertiary characters in there, it's a very dynamic cover that even shrunk down, even seeing that on a shelf, that is something that you will go immediately to.
It's a lot of secondary colors too. You're like the bright neon pink of the ambushed on it. And think about Image Comics at the time too. I think of like Savage Dragons, #1. That's like all neon colors there.
A green dude coming out on the yellow orange background. Yeah, absolutely.
Hendrik Perry, one of our beautiful VI pals, asks, anyone remember the lineup for Avengers United They Stand, the cartoon from the early 2000s? I don't.
Yeah. It was like Hawkeye. It was Ant-Man in a mech.
Yes.
What?
It had a very blocky animation too. Everyone was just, it was like that kind of faux Bruce Timm style where everyone was kind of like square.
Yeah,
if it's what I'm thinking of, I better not stretch my geek.
Yeah, the rest were Scarlet Witch, Tigra, Wasp, Falcon, Wonder Man, and Vision.
Oh shit! I do remember specifically not watching it because I did not like the roster. Yes, absolutely.
You said no to a Tigra roster? Man,
oh hell yeah!
Modern day Sean would make a different choice.
Yeah, I didn't know about that at the time. Atomic Hound says, love this segment, although I was distracted ordering Hope Volumes 1 and 2 over on Kickstarter.
Oh, thank you so much.
That's awesome.
There it is.
Hey, pay attention to the show. No, I'm joking.
Hey,
right?
Calm down. They can take a moment. Kickstarter is quick and easy and direct support.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And to answer your question, Atomic Hound, yes, any era is fair game. Absolutely. If you guys have a 373, that's just, I don't care if it's from The Walking Dead, it could be anything. Although I guess they didn't get that far, but if it got that far, it's fair game. Absolutely. Let's dive into the news. We've got some news to cover. And one of the biggest talking points this week has been Avengers Inc., which is the recent Al Ewing, Leonard Kirk Avengers book. It just launched in September, which is crazy. And it appears to be canceled.
There goes the issue with that 3 months window.
Alrighty.
Yep. And so Tom Brevoort was actually asked about this on his Substack. Quote, is Avengers Inc. over with number 5? I've been enjoying it so far. And the answer he gave was, quote, "Unfortunately, Cathal, there aren't enough people like you, so we will be wrapping up the series with issue 5.
It's tough.
So, a book launches in September, right? From Al Ewing, one of the hottest creators in comics, doing some of the best work in comics. And by December, or rather, excuse me, by January, we will be experiencing the last issue due to cancellation. And think about what Dirk said. Stores are ordering 3 months in advance these books. So this book was actually canceled, or the orders were low enough that it deserved cancellation months ago. Months ago.
By issue 3, they would have been like, "Oh, this doesn't look good."
But they wouldn't have gotten the numbers until October. So that means that
That's not how it works, buddy. Because the publishers are selling to the stores. Remember that.
right.
So
right.
if the stores aren't ordering it from the jump, it's screwed.
yeah,
The book didn't have a chance.
The way books are canceled now, we would never have Next Wave. The
Right.
cult classics would not exist. That's tough, man. Because then all you're left is with more X-Men books, another Spider-Man book. Because I'm enjoying this. I'm actually reading this too, and it's good. It's Al Ewing. It's hard not to be good, but
I'm torn here. Because on one side, part of me wants to say if Marvel wanted to keep this book going to let it find its legs, it could. On the other side, we know that the margin is slim and times are tough for everyone right now. But the fact you have Al Ewing, who really kind of broke through on, Immortal Hulk, and has seen now people are, like you said, John, very hot commodity as a writer. And even looking at this cover, right? Moon Knight on here, everything else. I'm just crinkling my nose at this whole scenario, right? It's like, I don't know. I don't want to be a conspiracy guy, but I wonder if low sales. All I'll say is this: I'm curious, morbidly curious, if low sales were really the factor in this book ending in issue 5. That's all I'm going to say. All I'm going to say. I mean, I'm just, I don't know. And again, here's the issue now that we're facing in the industry. It's very hard to get numbers now on what books are truly selling because of the value we have multiple distributors. But again, it's getting trickier and trickier to tell who's ordering what. But it's interesting. That's very interesting that book has been canceled so quickly. That's all. That, to quote Forrest Gump, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, I have a little more to say about it. And I'm going to use Milton Grepp, who is the co-founder of Capital City Distribution, Next Planet Over, and ICV2, who we reference a lot. And Milton is probably one of the most knowledgeable people about comics that is alive right now. And this is what he said. And this is sort of in reference to the Phil Boyle thing that we talked about a couple weeks ago. But this is what he said, and it ties into what we're talking about right now. I think, quote, "I think there's a very general reason why Marvel's and DC's books aren't selling. They aren't very good. I had a rule when I was in distribution, and it was, quote, good is as good sells. That means the definition of a good product is that when you expose it to an audience, it sells. That's not happening with Marvel and DC's. So by definition, they're not very good. The why is the bigger question with a lot of theories. First of all, it's hard to produce great comics or any kind of great entertainment. If it were easy, they'd all be great and we'd all be rich. There are periods when the industry is on fire, with creativity pouring out of every pore. At other times, even though everybody's trying, the results are poor. So one theory is that we're just in a weak period creatively for reasons that we'll never understand. Another theory is that people are getting their superhero fix from big budget movies and TV shows and have superhero fatigue. They're just sick of the genre, or they don't want any more than what they can get on a screen. I suspect there's more to it than the answers either of those theories provide. The talent migration away from the big two has been dramatic over the last decade, related to the compensation and rights, with the situation now in a spiral in which lower sales produce lower compensation for comic creators, which causes good talent to leave, which lowers sales, and so on. That is an Ouroboros snake that he just described, eating itself. But the reason I brought this up is because he said, one of the foremost knowledgeable people about comics said, good is as good sells. Is this a good comic? Does Avengers Inc. earn its place on the shelf by simply being quote unquote good? Because Tyler said it's good. I don't know. I'm not reading it. Why am I not reading it? Because it feels ancillary. And I don't have the ability. Well, I mean, I guess I clearly do because I do it every week. But I don't want to buy books that feel ancillary. So I don't buy it. First issue was solid. I don't buy it. Is good what sells? Is this book not good because it doesn't sell?
I mean, can people afford it is another, I think, consideration. If you have, like, it is good worth me investing in the book in the sense that I'm going to invest the money and the time to pick it up. And if you're somebody who's, maybe tighter on budget, there's not enough opportunity to get a good book out there. If you're, and I've had to do this recently of just considering what I'm buying, because weekly books if you get up to a certain amount, it gets really expensive, to do every single week. And I don't have the additional opportunity that I potentially once did to just try out a book. And maybe somebody didn't catch on issue 1 that somebody could have to have decided. And I don't know that an individual is going to make or break whether or not this is getting canceled. But I think if you have enough of those people and enough of an opportunity, then I think there's a chance that books like these that are maybe a bit more ancillary, that something like the Jean Grey solo mini as well that's been coming out. There's a lot of examples of these that feel extra and that feel like I don't need to grab this because it's not the thing that I've been following continuously. Ancillary, I think you can have a good ancillary book, but I think it comes down to whether or not you have the means to just add it to your pull list.
Your point, Marco, is good enough.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of good stuff out there. Lot of good stuff out there right now. But is good enough? I was talking about this with Hope. Hope is good, but it's also emotionally investing. There's reasons, there's big themes here we're exploring, and it's accessible. But we live right now in an industry with an embarrassment of riches of good books. I would argue that most books being put out right now are good.
Yep.
Is good enough? There's your topic for next week. Sorry. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah, I have issues saying can a comic not is it good if it doesn't sell? Because I think there's like an art versus sales of art that's in my head. But is good enough is I think a good way of putting it. Yeah, is even though it's good, does that justify its existence? I don't know.
And that is the problem that I think. I think the big two have it, but I also think it's a wider issue in comics where it's like I just don't feel like there's enough curation. I don't feel like there's enough respect for the market. Avengers Inc. may be a great book, and maybe a year ago or 2 years ago would have been a great time to launch it, right? The industry is softer now than it was a year or 2 ago. And so, everybody loves what Al is doing on Immortal Thor, right? But is Avengers Inc. what we need? Probably not. And the numbers are reflecting that. So is it good? Maybe. Is it good enough? Clearly not. Because if it was, people would buy it. I myself love everything Al does. But I just don't have a need for this. It is what it is. You know, I don't buy every single Scott Snyder book. I love Scott Snyder. I don't need to. You know, there's so many comics. It's too much. It's too much.
I'm gonna push back on the idea that if it's good, it sells, because there's plenty of books that are good that don't probably sell what they should.
Sure.
Because again, Tyler's point, marketing. There's a whole different beast there, a whole different thing. And there's plenty of books that are not to the level of quality of others that sell infinitely more because of the marketing behind them. So I'm just putting that out there as well, you know. And again, I admitted this earlier in this very episode. I used to suffer that same belief, you know, the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. If it's good, they will find it. Kind of. But that doesn't mean that the level of quality of the book is always going to, in and of itself, be proportional to the sales of it. That's why we have cult classics, that we have underground books and things like that, you know. So that's what, just tossing that out there as well.
No, I think that is worth pointing out. I myself thought it was interesting that Milton said that, given how connected he is to the sales of comics and identifying what sells and what doesn't sell. But I think there's a lesson there that the big two in particular need to learn. And it might mean less work for creators. It might mean, all right, so we don't publish every single idea that we might have. But maybe, you know, maybe instead of having Avengers Inc., which then just gets canceled, you could pay Al and the team more for Immortal Hulk and put more money behind the marketing of that, and that can sell better.
Well,
I don't know.
Consider why Marvel is making comics too. Why is Marvel, which is probably in the scheme of things, Marvel Comics probably close to a loss leader in regards to the amount of stuff they put out versus the money they're bringing back in?
Sure.
It's IP development. Now that IP exists in Marvel's library forever, who would have known that Thor 373, the first appearance of the TVA, would become the staple of a Disney Plus show how many years later, right?
Sure.
A lot of it's IP development. And when you're writing corporate comics, that's what you're looking at. It's IP development. They gave Al Ewing, and who's the artist on this one?
Leonard Kirk?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, great artist, right?
Yeah.
Gave him 5 issues, throw an idea out there, we'll see what happens. Now they own it forever. 20 years from now, you might see in a story arc of Moon Knight season 8 or whatever, or Marvel Phase 15, Avengers Incorporated pop up. Right? They now own that idea from a really good writer and a really good artist forever.
You are absolutely right, but I think what Atomic Hound said just now in the chat is exemplary of the problem with that. Marvel has hunted their most devoted fans to extinction. You could probably substitute DC in there. This is a confidence killer. I don't want to invest in books that get canceled. I don't want to have to question, okay, so if I start buying this, is it going to get canceled because it's a lower tier title? You know, is my investment going to be, you know, validated by the continuing publishing of this book? And if it's not, am I wasting my time jumping in? I think that is something that severely, significantly hurts confidence. We've seen Marvel and DC play this game of, you know, and more so Marvel, not saying whether something is a mini or not to see if it strikes. And if it strikes, they just keep publishing it. And if it doesn't, it's gone by issue 5. That is not good.
What's that joke with the Transformers comic? Issue 120 of a 4-issue limited series, right?
Right. Yeah.
You know, right. No, but I think that point is very valid about hunting to extinction, right? We need to be very careful. And, you know, my own, who I work with publisher now, Source Point Press, is going through a major overhaul in regards to the support and the strength and the conditions of the direct market, about revamping to do, I want to say fewer better, but more focused. We want to focus on putting out lesser titles and giving them the time and space they deserve to be out there. and to support and to promote them and to make sure the label of SourcePoint Press has value and has identity so that people know what they're getting. Yeah, there's a lot of layers to this, and it just, wow, man, 5 issues and out.
Rough.
I find that very interesting.
I think the thing that you said there, loss leaders, interesting, because I do believe that many of these companies are working at a deficit, if not on the cusp. And that focusing that you mentioned of SourcePoint Press, I think it makes a lot of sense because it's long-term thinking, whereas the publication of an Avengers Inc. is short-term. It is, I'm gonna get these short-term sales and then decide whether or not it warrants the longevity of keeping around. And if not, cool. I'm comfortable to exit because, well, I didn't need those short-term. I didn't really need those short-term gains. It was a way to bolster maybe. You're still at that loss, but at the very least, you're making a little bit more return to whatever degree, and it doesn't have the longevity of planning for an event or for planning for the books that you currently have to really bring audiences or the audience you already have locked in to make them care about the stuff that's currently going on so they can buy more of that.
Right. I again, it's not often you guys have a comic reader on you with the whole show here. Again, I'm going to be very transparent with you. Hope Volume 2, we put out the first 2 issues in comic shops. I've worked with artist Sally Scott, and I feel bad I didn't give full credit like I should have to my creative team on Hope. Sally Scott, the illustrator, I've worked with her on several smaller things. This is her first long-form project. Dave Lentz lettering it. Drina Joe, again, a friend of the show, one of the best freelance editors in the business.
Oh, yeah.
We were doing Hope Volume 2 as a 4-issue limited series. Then we're going to do the trade paperback. We released the first 2 issues in stores. And I cut publication. Me and SourcePoint agreed, cut publication on the next 2 issues. My next series scheduled to come out after that, Homestead, Werewolf Western. People are super stoked about it. Les Garner, who did Apocalypse Girl, and just did some stuff with Rich Davis on the Reign of Dracula universe. Again, Dave Lentz editing, Colin Jungle coloring, Drina Joe editing, our house team. A book, people were super excited to get the Dirk Manning Werewolf Western book. We canceled all 4 issues, and we're going right to the trade paperback and right to the original graphic novel on Kickstarter next year instead, because of the loss leader mentality. This is a business, and when I go to Sally, and I go Sally especially on Hope, or when I go to Les on Homestead, and I say, look, we're publishing these issues. Do we want the vanity of the single issue on the shelf? Or do you want the money that we'll get instead from the collected edition? Because right now, again, going back to our conversation earlier, the direct market is really struggling right now, and they're having a very difficult time supporting independent creator-owned comics that are not from the big 2, the big 4 publishers. Right. So that loss leader thing, Marco, is very real. And it's very, very real. And again, Hope is a book that the first issue of Hope Volume 1 was the free comic book day book for SourcePoint Press. First time I did free comic book day. The book had a lot of exposure, but we go back to that business aspect and the direct market and the idea of canceling something early. I knew we were putting out Hope. I believe in Sally. I believe in Dave. I believe in Joe. With Homestead, I believe in Les. I believe in myself. But we had to adapt and evolve what we were doing, because unlike a Marvel Comics, unlike a DC Comics, I can't absorb the hit of putting out issues and then losing money just to print it. I just can't. And it's not fair to my team, right? It's not fair to say, hey, we're going to, well, let me rephrase that. We had to have the discussion. How much do you want to put these issues out, knowing it's going to affect the money you're going to make long-term on this project? Right. That's what, but then again, we turn around on Kickstarter and release Hope. And now rather than operating at a deficit, we have 6 days left. We're closing in on $13,000 in pre-sales.
Oh yeah.
Again, go full circle, right? It's not that I want to support the direct market. I do, but we have to make choices that are financially viable to ourselves. And that's again, when I keep coming back to this thing with Avengers Inc. It's so interesting to me. Known writer, hot writer, known artist, publicly known Hollywood franchise, and then you cancel after 5 issues. That's interesting. Maybe it is the numbers. Maybe it's not. I don't know. It's the whole thing is fascinating to me.
But I think, like, to your point, if they were going to continue to invest in the IP, that would be a solution. Hey, we're canceling the book, but we're going to continue this with the finished collection that collects all 6 issues that we would have published, and he's going to get a second volume there, because that's long-term thinking. That is understanding that you have a loss, you're working and operating as a business, and you're trying to find some sort of solution to be able to maintain the potential audience that you locked in with the book, or give an opportunity to the audience that you have at large to test it out in a more controlled environment, a more price-friendly environment, and allow them the opportunity to just try it out and minimize the risk. Because
I really got to move it forward.
Yeah.
Can't keep
Sorry.
talking about this. That's all right.
Good stuff, Dirk. It's good stuff.
Yeah, what happens? You bring on a writer, we just start talking forever. Sorry. Next subject. Sorry, I apologize.
So I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know if you heard this. I don't know if you've experienced this yourself, but it happened. A woman has come forward and admitted that seeing kissing in a comic book led to a debilitating addiction to pornography.
Whoa.
I mean,
Listen.
same.
So, Lana Burkhart, a 20-year-old woman out of Texas, appeared in front of the school board for Conroe Independent School District in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And she told the board that when she was 11 years old, she read Raina Telgemeier's drama and saw a kiss in the book that led to her addiction, a debilitating addiction, and that it was the single kiss that, quote, led her to look for other books that gave me pleasure, led to, quote, internet searches that she will never forget. By the time she was 13, she says that she was her porn addiction had made her depressed and suicidal. And so she is now asking, based on this, for them to remove books of this nature, graphic novels, comic books of this nature, from the school board, from the school system, from schools, from libraries. Now, Tyler, I don't know if you have the actual kiss, but it is.
I don't. I didn't want to get our viewers addicted to porn any more than they probably already are.
It is absolutely
Scandalous.
not anything that would offend anybody.
It's probably a peck, right?
I mean, it's a kiss. It's a nice kiss. It's like if you watch any Disney movie, right? You see a kiss.
Innocuous.
Yeah. God forbid that a child witness a same-sex kiss.
Is it same sex? I thought it was.
Well, there are layers and layers to this.
Okay.
Because this woman is an activist. What kind of activist is she? Well, she's an activist who wants to make sure that an organization that she works for, Skytree Book Fairs, has a little bit more market share.
No way.
And they're marketing themselves as, quote, an alternative to the sexually explicit content distributed in Scholastic's book fairs.
Oh, this is a conservative plant. Yeah.
What?
So that little debilitating addiction that she talked about, I mean, maybe she had it, maybe she didn't. I don't think this kiss led to that any more than I think that watching Cinderella or Moana or any other Disney movie leads to people, becoming debilitatingly addicted to pornography. This is the biggest bullshit I've read in a long time.
Well, I mean, Cinderella, Tyler and Fee, right?
Well, hey now. I mean, that True Love's first kiss in Snow White, there's a clear line between that and all of my OnlyFans purchases, I think. If we line it up correctly.
Just clear delineation.
I wouldn't have gone there, but, okay.
That's wild.
It's not, though. Like, this is the
It's
same kind
brazen,
of bullshit that we see in all, like...
We're under attack.
Why is it always Texas? Like, I know Kale's not here because he is in Texas.
All right. Look, hey, I know we're short on time, so let me make this, if I may, take the liberty of making this one very simple. 11 adults in the United States are responsible for 60% of the book bans in libraries.
Thank you.
What?
Thank you.
I'll say it loud over the mic. 11 people are responsible for 60% of the book bannings.
Damn.
Man, get those guys on a comic book marketing gig instead. Jeez.
Comics Beat did a great job reporting on this issue. And in their article, they said, quote, "Drama, a charming story about putting on a play at a middle school, has long been one of the most banned books in America, even before the current wave of challenges and attacks on the First Amendment. The reason? Acknowledging that some of the characters are gay." That's it.
Yep.
That's it. No other reason. The agenda is all about, continuing to police and, destroy, if possible, the lives of people who are not just straight. And it extends beyond sexuality, extends to race as well. There's an ongoing complex issue. The last thing I want to point out about this is that in October of this very year, in response to pushback, Scholastic Book Fair announced that they were going to create a separate category for books that would allow schools to opt out of books that they feel are controversial and too diverse. Quote, "It was claimed that this was to help school administrators and employees avoid taking more heat in states that have been censoring what's available for children to read." That is bullshit. And thankfully, Scholastic walked that back. But this Skytree was trying to capitalize on people's anger with Scholastic because their children are coming home with books in which two people who love each other are kissing. That is a problem for some people that are in this country, and that shit's crazy.
It's also it's just not the reality. Like I was in the drama club in high school. I was like the only straight one out of there once college came around.
Yeah, I directed community theater for years. Fun fact, people may not know. But that aside, it comes down to a simple thing. If you don't like it, don't read it.
Buy it.
And then furthermore, don't publicize it. Period. People, when I did musicals for years, people used to try to dog on me about the fact you don't write negative reviews. Even when I did comic reviews for years, you don't do negative reviews. And I very rarely did, because why waste time, space, capital, energy dragging something down when instead I can promote something that's good? And I get it. Controversy creates cash. I get it. People like to come in and hate on stuff. And I understand. And even, no offense, even you guys know sometimes we'll, review a book and just slag on it. That's cool, man. Each their own. But my mentality has always been, if you don't like it, don't talk about it. This is strictly agenda driven. And again, let's presume positive intent. Let's presume that this woman really has some sort of mental, emotional regulation deficiency, that seeing a drawing of a kiss led her to a porn addiction. Is there any precedent for this being an issue so severe that you need to ban Raina Telgemeier's books, which are an entry point to this amazing medium for so many children, for so many young girls especially. It's like, just it's madness. It's insane. And again, come back to what I said earlier. 11 people are responsible for 60% of the book bans in the United States. And this is a perfect example of that lunacy that's going on right now. So, whatever.
Asinine.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight this absolute horseshit. And you know, I think it's important to talk about the fact that this is what's going on, because unfortunately these people are very motivated.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if you're a parent, right, then maybe you could consider attending some of these meetings and saying, hey, no, that's BS. I've also read this book. My children read these books and they're doing just fine. Individuals have power, way more than you would be led to believe. Remember what Dirk said. That is a minute amount of people. This is one woman we're reporting on. This is not a wave of people. This is one woman's power. So you have power too.
No, absolutely.
I also like how it's a clear, like, if your 12-year-old has an addiction to porn, maybe the parents should be doing something about that.
No, the school board should ban drama.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's so many levels to this, and it's all absurd. It's absurd. And this person, I wish this person had the dignity to be ashamed of themselves for the right reason.
Mm.
You know, there's some of the locus of control. You can control how the decisions you make and things you do. And if you're suffering an addiction, if you're suffering a mental health crisis, hey man, we've all struggled. We all struggle on different things. Get help, but do not turn around and then say this thing should not be accessible because it adversely affected me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But like, get the F out.
There you go. I love it. Harris says, breaking news. She claims that her first chocolate milk at school has given her crippling addiction to candy. Christian Harriet said, at $5.99 plus per book, I need the negative reviews too. Hell yeah. And I want to say, you know, I love promoting positivity. I'm all about pushing P. But at the same time, comics are expensive and our audience needs to know what's worth their time.
Right. To be fair, the only time I would publish a negative review or is if it's something I really expected and should have liked but didn't. And like a famous example is, like, I was a big fan of Megadeth, the band, and when they put out Risk, I wrote a rare negative review because, like, man, this is an album as a Megadeth fan I really probably should have liked, but I gave it a very critical review because I'm like, that's a deep cut for my fellow metalheads out there. But like, this is something that as a Megadeth fan, I'm really taken aback at how much I do not enjoy it. So there is value in talking about things that aren't good, but we always need to make sure, again, we promote the positive too and give that bandwidth to things that could use it.
But you're coming from a critical point of view, which I would argue is different than maybe like we'll shit on an individual or a set.
On Flash number 3,
it was good. Oh,
speaking of promoting positivity, Anyone Comics is a comic book store that does that on the reg. That is really their whole agenda. And I don't use that word in a negative connotation. I use it in a very positive one because they're all about promoting comics for anyone. Right. And they even have another store that's for everyone.
Hey.
So it's a beautiful thing. We've been there. Love that store. The owner, Demetrios, is a phenomenal dude that I have known for many, many years. And so they're actually closing Anyone Comics.
Womp. Well,
but it's reopening a few blocks away.
Oh, damn you! I'm gonna go. Like when I go back to New York Comic Con in October, I'm like, I need to go to the store, and then you just lulled me into a false sense of depression. So where are they? Where is Anyone Comics so that when people go to New York Comic Con, they can go check out this great shop?
Yeah, so Anyone Comics is in Brooklyn. Yeah, they're in Brooklyn. I don't know. Let me see if they have the exact location. Yeah, so
we can find it in Brooklyn.
Yeah, it's 831 Nostrand Ave, Brooklyn, in Crown Heights. So, you know, if you ever wanted to check it out, it's a phenomenal store.
Very cool.
There's a specific reason why I want to talk about this, and it's not simply to talk about how much I love this place. So, Demetrios wrote a great write-up about the store and everything else. I'm gonna go to a particular point of this. Anyone Comics offers a unique experience as it became the place you can pick up your comics upstairs, join a drink and draw, join Magic the Gathering tournament, or play a session of Dungeons and Dragons, drop your kids off for an art class, or pick up your free comic books on Free Comic Book Day, and all that good stuff. It's a store with 2 floors. The bottom floor is for like game night, all that kind of stuff. It's a very diverse store. In fact, their primary sales do not come from Big Two Comics. So it's pretty cool. The next couple of things are why I'm talking about this. The gamble paid off and the business reached new heights in 2021, leading into an investment in a second store in Queens called Everyone Comics and Collectibles. But 2022 proved not to be a good year to expand. The growth of sales and event attendance in 2021 was overestimated, and business decreased while costs and rent have gone up. Why did that happen? The article and the write-up by Demetrios does not go into that, but I will. The reason that happened is what happened to a lot of comic book stores. Everybody overestimated how much money people really had post-COVID.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. That is why the market is trending down. Because everybody projected a massive 2022 and a huge 2023. And that is not what happened, because all those stimulus checks that we got dried up. The price of everything gone up. The price of comics way up. $5.99 plus in many cases. $10. I've spent $10 on a comic book multiple times this year.
Yep. My salary flatter than a Coke.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that they like nobody was doing anything in 2020. They couldn't, so they had disposable money at that point.
And you need to spend it on things you could do at home, like
Yeah.
read comics.
Yep. And then in 2021, when you have events and stuff, people are now jonesing to have community, and they're going to be going out and all that stuff. So they're probably going to be doing it a little more than they normally would have.
Right.
It's something that, look, business savvy, we talked about it earlier, is required to run a business. Big shock. And by the way, I'm not trying to diminish Demetrios in any way. A lot of people did not realize what we were actually living in. And so a lot of people got on their high horse and they talked about, wow, look at this. Comics are doing better than ever. What are you talking about? The industry is in danger. What are you talking about? We need to fix some things. No, you got bamboozled. And we need to really take a look at this industry and fix some things. And by the way, I think Anyone Comics is as close to having it figured out as any comic shop I've ever been to.
Smart man to talk about comics.
Yeah, man. I look forward to heading to check out that store.
Please do, and when you do, tell them, we shouted them out.
Tell them Large Marv sent
Look
you.
them up online, go give them a like and all that stuff. And again, because that's what you do, right? Little things you can do that. It's going to cost me no money to go onto Facebook, like their page, drop them a note, say, hey, I really heard about your store's cool. Even if I'm not back in New York till October, I'd like to come by and see you. So right on. Thank you for the heads up on that. I love to hear shops like that are supporting a variety of comics.
Yeah. Hendrik Perry says, instead, the price of eggs shot up and basic foods had me doing double take on luxury buys. Exactly. And in the spirit of that, thank you so much for being a channel member. You are fantastic. We really, really appreciate anybody who would spend their money on us when things are what they are. And, I think it's important to support the things that you love, and so go to your local shop. And if you have a bit of expendable income that you can afford to shoot their way, then that's a big help. And the same goes for us. Absolutely. The last bit of news we have to talk about before we get into the draft, because you guys did kill that likes goal, so we will be able to do our draft today, Dirk.
Yes.
We've never had to miss one. Yes. Is simply to confirm that Marvel appears to have every intention of making Avengers Kang Dynasty the movie.
Ooh, Full ahead?
It appears so because they hired Michael Waldron, who was the point person behind Loki, to make this movie. So Michael Waldron is signed on to write Avengers Kang Dynasty. Of course, this is in the midst of people debating whether or not Jonathan Majors will continue on in the role of Kang, or whether Marvel will pivot altogether and move away from Kang and into Doom or whatever else. Avengers Kang Dynasty having a writer on tap is a pretty good sign that Marvel will make this movie. Now, I have two things to say before you guys tap in. One, that doesn't mean that Jonathan Majors will be the person playing Kang. Jonathan's trial has just started the other day here in New York, and it was absolutely insane. This dude brought a Bible. He brought a Bible, and he brought Megan Good. And it's just like, can you stop with the fabrications?
I mean,
please?
bringing Megan Good, though, like, if I'm on that jury.
Bringing Megan Good is good anywhere. It's great to do. You should always bring Megan Good if she's in your life. But it just comes across as very fabricated and phony, and I saw right through it as I was watching that. That being said, the other factor is that just because this movie has a writer does not actually mean that this movie will release as Avengers the Kang Dynasty. We are talking about Marvel Comics or Marvel Studios.
This only confirms that this writer will be writing this Avengers movie. What this Avengers movie is in my opinion, still up in the air because I don't think Marvel's still sold. I mean, what Captain America's title changed, when it was in production. So,
how many times has the Agatha spinoff's title changed?
Yeah,
true. Yeah,
right. No, we're gonna get an Avengers movie, and people can go watch it or not, and it's gonna be good or it's not. Not to oversimplify it, not to gloss over any of the drama. There will be a trial. There will be a verdict. People can then decide if they continue to support this person if he's in the movie. I think he's an amazing actor. He's doing great as Kang. This leads into that big debate of separating the art from the artist, right?
Yes.
And it's a very complicated thing that we do not have nearly enough time to talk about right now. I like him as Kang. I like the direction they're going with the Kang stuff in the Marvel movies. Depending to the degree to which things come out in regards to what's happening with this, I may or may not be able to separate the art from the artist on this. But I'll tell you what, I'm excited about the very slow rollout of this very big Kang threat they're doing. I really enjoyed the second season of Loki, what they were doing there. I love the post-credit scene in Ant-Man with the Council of Kangs. We'll see what happens. I will say, and again, if I sound like the odd man out here, so be it. I think a lot of us comic geeks are doing a lot of fantasy booking in regards to they're going to replace Kang with Dr. Doom. Nowhere, anywhere has there been any legitimate indication that this is going to happen. Again, get the F out. You don't know. You're not going to know, just like you didn't really know CM Punk was coming back to WWE either. All right. You don't know what's happening. Let them do what they're going to do and then vote with your dollars. Watch it or don't watch it. Right. But we'll get to Dr. Doom. We're going to get to Galactus. We're going to get to all this stuff. Trust me. But right now, just let them do what they're going to do. Decide how much you can separate the art from the artist. If there's anything, this could become a nothing burger. This could all be nothing. Or not. Or he could be the most horrible human ever walking the earth. Let's see. Vote with your wallet if you want to support it. If you can support it. If you don't want to, figure it out.
I don't know.
Sorry, I'm a buzz killer on controversy. Sorry.
Superhero Joe Schmo on Elon Musk's Twitter/X, who has no reputable contacts in the film industry, told me that they were going to replace him with Dr. Doom. So,
exactly. It's like,
well, my dad who works at Marvel, actually, he told me so.
Oh, there you go. Right. Yeah. Quick. Someone put that on Twitter.
Yeah.
Right.
He has lunch with my uncle who works for Nintendo. Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad was Stan Lee, and he told me.
I got a Ouija board out.
Yeah. I did a seance. And I asked him,
right?
Is Avengers Kang Dynasty going to release with Jonathan Majors in the role? And Stan told me yes. And so therefore I am reporting that now here
You,
live.
you should have done that on the Fantastic Four news. You would have saved yourself an omnibus, but
Right.
Oh shit, you're right, dude.
Gotta get that.
You're absolutely right. Okay. We'll probably find out more about this as we go along. I think the trial is going to determine a lot of things. But I agree with Dirk. You know, obviously we have to talk about these kind of things for the show, and I think it's interesting to speculate. But at the end of the day, you know, we'll see what happens.
That's it. Yeah, I didn't mean to crush the segment or attempt to. I apologize, but it's a situation where it's like, but it's an interesting thing about the art versus the artist. I always say, if you dig deep enough on anybody, you're going to find something about them you don't like, or you can just go take the movie for what it is, a thing to enjoy, and ideally, you will be trading a certain amount of your money for a level of enjoyment equal to or more than the money you invested in it.
Yeah. And I know that's tough for people. I get why. This is one of those situations we're gonna have to play out, and whatever's in your heart after it plays out is on you.
Right. Vote with your wallet, vote with your dollars, and donate money to. And I don't say this flippantly, but I mean, vote. You can vote with your dollars in a lot of ways too. Maybe if turns out this guy's a scumbag, did some terrible stuff, maybe rather than going to see Kang, you donate some money to a charity that's going to help support victims of this stuff, for example, or something, or donate some of your time, or do something, or complain on Twitter, or whatever you're gonna do, or Zitter, or whatever it's called now.
Zitter, I haven't heard that one. Robotters 100 says, I got comic book guys hook up where they bug underneath the board stable for the casting of Doom going forward. Hey, Robotters, can you confirm a theory and something we've been talking about? Can you confirm that you are in fact Harvoke on the Discord? Because I believe you are, and that was a discussion, and you're here now, so I just wanted to ask you.
It's a conspiracy theory.
I know. All right. We have one thing that we need to do, one thing left that we have to do before we cut out of here. And hopefully that's something that you guys are all excited about. I know I am. I know Dirk is. That is the draft.
Yes. Thank you for making this possible, everyone. You've made my day. Thank you.
Today's draft is about the world. You know, it's a worldly draft. And it's about the people in it and the people who represent different places across the world. We are talking about the ambassador draft. How does it work? Each of us will draft 5 characters, but you can only draft one character from every nation.
Oh.
So if you pick an American, a North American, right? If you pick a character that is from the United States, you cannot then pick another one from the United States. You are
Canada
locked out of the
Mexico.
U.S.
Okay. Got it.
There's you can pick characters from anywhere on Earth. I don't care where it is, just one character from each place.
And this is a superhero team.
Yeah.
Villains allowed too?
Sorry, I just, I like they get like a team. Like the purpose of this team is just to make is it an ambassador team, like a diplomatic mission, or is this going to be more like a?
Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Your only agenda is to draft 5 superheroes from different places across the world, and the winner of the draft is determined by the audience, whatever the hell they like the most.
Okay.
So, Any other questions?
Do different worlds count? Are we only doing Earth?
I think we should keep it to Earth. I think it's more fun.
Okay, so I can't pick a Norse god.
No.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that too.
All people not born on Earth are disqualified.
Ooh.
We should do a
So
50 state initiative draft one day, Sean.
That's insane
Yeah.
and sounds like fun. Any other questions?
Villains?
I don't think we need to do villains. I think we can get there without villains.
I mean, as a horror guy, though, I have a predilection towards.
All right. Okay, fair enough. For the sake of Dirk, we'll include villains as well.
I was just saying that I mean, it's all a matter of perspective, arguably, right?
And they're fighting for their nation, it sounds like. So, the common ground.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. They're fighting for their nation. Would Wolverine count as U.S.? No,
No,
he would
he's
count as
Canadian.
Canadian.
Right.
All right.
Boy,
I've got my dice.
let's go.
And we are going to kick things off. I'm going to roll first for Dirk Manning. So here we go. This rolls for Dirk.
Okay.
That is a 10. That's a 10. Great start.
Beginner's luck.
I like that. I like that.
Now for Tyler. That is a 3.
Damn, Tyler.
Ooh.
Now for Marco.
It's me.
That's a 9.
Oh,
Ooh.
Pretty good. And now for myself.
Now you get to boxcars. Watch.
That's a 6.
all right.
okay. All right.
So,
All right. I deserve that. It's about time.
It'll be Dirk, Marco, myself, and Tyler. That is the order. It is a snake draft. So Dirk, you'll kick us off with your first pick.
I'm going to go with one of my favorite characters in the Marvel movies, especially, although I certainly also have a predilection for this character in the comics, the Scarlet Witch.
Where's she from?
Not the United States.
Wundigore, right? Isn't that or
Wundagore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's some. I believe it's a made up
Right.
country.
And made up places count.
Yeah,
For
thank
the
you.
sake of
Yeah,
this.
that's what I was. You notice I started there specifically to kind of broach that subject.
Sure.
I'm glad you did because my first pick was gonna be Black Panther out of Wakanda.
Oh, okay. There you go. All right. So Dirk got Scarlet Witch. Marco got Black Panther. I'm going to go with Storm, representing Africa.
Okay, I'm going to go representing Latveria, Dr. Doom,
There you go.
and representing Germany, Magneto.
Oh, very good.
God.
All right. So I'm up again. I'm going to choose representing Russia. I'm going to choose Colossus.
Nice.
That's a good one.
I'm gonna do repping PR La Kenya, baby. Oh, this is big too.
No,
That's fine.
that's fine. Yeah.
Will give it to me.
Yeah.
5.
Dirk, you're up. Twice.
Oh wow. Okay, I am going to go and hate me if you must, but I'm going to take the low hanging fruit before someone else does. I'm picking Wolverine from Canada.
Damn it.
Boom.
And now a really deep cut, actually my favorite characters that I was first exposed to in Peter David's run on the Hulk. I'm going to pick Sabra from Israel.
Oh.
She's very cool character. Went toe to toe with the Smart Hulk. I think they called him that era.
Mhm.
Is in the new Captain America movie coming out too. Yep.
Oh wow. I didn't know that.
Yep. She's been cast. Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I made my day. That's awesome. Thank you.
Marco, you're up.
I'm gonna do give me good old Captain America.
I didn't think anyone would get him.
What?
Steve Rogers.
You thought he was so obvious that
That nobody would pick him.
I thought I had time. Yeah, I thought I had time. I'm gonna go with my US pick of Captain Marvel. Carol Danvers.
Okay, and I'm up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go with a pick from Markova. I'm picking Geoforce. And then I would like to snag my boy Namor from the sea.
I was curious if that would count, and I debated making the argument for Atlantis as of being a former above ground country at one time.
Well, it is it's a nation that's represented, so
I think it's in the UN too. I believe in Marvel.
If not
Comics, yeah.
Latvia, then why not? Right. That's
absolutely.
That's very valid.
So it's back to me. I'm going to go with. I need a Canadian. I'll go with Nightcrawler. Germany, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And it doesn't matter that Tyler already. Oh, I guess it doesn't matter that Tyler.
Yeah, it's
listed.
just just
We have to have our own.
Yeah.
How many do I? I'm up, right?
Marco's up, and
I'm
then
up.
you.
I'm gonna do Darna from the Philippines.
Darna. Okay. From what? What is that from? What is
The
that character from?
Philippines.
Sorry.
She's just a popular superhero in the Philippines.
Oh, okay, but not. Oh, got you. Okay.
Yeah. Nestor Redondo.
So these are your last two picks, Dirk.
My last two back to back. All right, I'm going to go from someone with no superpowers to someone who's overtly superpowered. Mexico, I'm going Zorro.
Ooh, nice.
Love Zorro. I have a lot of love for Zorro. Zorro's one of my childhood favorites. And another childhood favorite, in honor of the amazing new movie that just dropped, I'm going to Japan and I'm putting Godzilla on my team.
Hell yeah, dude.
Because Godzilla -1 should be the first Godzilla movie to be nominated for an Oscar. Incredible movie. I gotta rep my boy Godzilla for Japan.
Yo.
All right, I'll allow it.
Coming in.
You're the guest.
Back to back Japan, Sunfire.
Oh.
Ooh, that's a good pick.
Yeah. That's hot.
Literally.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. For my last pick, this is tough. Damn. I can't think of any Canadians.
You're really stuck.
Think Alpha Flight.
Robin Thicke.
I got hell no. I got one Alpha Flighter, but I just don't know if I want to choose them.
It's Puck. If Puck is a fine pick, Sean.
You got Puck, you got Sasquatch, you got Box 4, you got all kinds.
You got the Omega, right? Isn't he one of them as well?
I'm gonna draft Keenan Kong.
Okay, Superman of China.
The Superman of China, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Hell doesn't count as a place, right?
No,
Okay.
Hell is not a nation.
Hellboy out of the picture. Hellboy.
I was debating Mephisto too. I know.
I was actually going to choose Hellboy, but no.
Oh.
All right, I'll just go to Egypt. Give me Apocalypse.
Oh.
Damn, that's good.
That's good.
I did not want to use any of North America, and I've succeeded. So.
Wow. All right. So we've all got 5. And here are the teams. Dirk got Scarlet Witch, Wolverine, Sabra, Zorro, and Godzilla. And Marco put up a poll while I'm doing this. Tyler got Doctor Doom, Magneto, Geoforce, Namor, and Apocalypse. Marco got Black Panther, La Borinqueña, Captain America, Steve Rogers, Darna, and Sunfire. And I got Storm, Colossus, Captain Marvel, Nightcrawler, and Keenan Kong Superman. So those are the teams. I must say that if I were just listening, if I were not on this podcast and I had a vote, I would vote for Tyler.
Clip that, viewers. Just clip that for me. Can we get that soundbite?
Just quick. Because every time you picked somebody, I was like, damn it, I needed that person.
I'm not. You guys are great. I'm not gonna lie. I voted for myself just because I want Godzilla representation.
There you go. Yeah.
We need it.
No, Dirk had a great draft too. I mean, Godzilla, my goodness.
I get that was way out there. I understand it. I know I was kind of playing dirty pool, but man, that new Godzilla movie is so good. I'm obviously
He was in a Marvel comic.
And he was in a Marvel comic. Yeah. And they're putting out a new color omnibus of the Godzilla comic from Marvel.
Yeah. They've been doing a lot of that recently, like Rom the Space Knight too, like those weird rights things. On the rights too.
I have the essential, the Godzilla one, the old black and white reprint. But now that color one's coming out, get that too.
Get those votes in if you're watching us live on YouTube. Let us know who you think won the draft. Dirk, it has been an unbelievable pleasure to have you as a part of the show. You ran the gauntlet with us. This was actually a longer episode than we're used to.
Probably because of me, I apologize.
Wow. But thank you so much. Talk to us real quick about where people can find you all over the internet, and of course, plug the Kickstarter, please.
Yeah. So, you want to find out more about me and my work, you go to dirkmanning.com. It's my website. I have a newsletter. You can sign up there. I send out once a month. I don't do Substack or anything like that. Again, creator owned. I send a personal email once a month through dirkmanning.com. New Kickstarter for Hope Volume 2 through SourcePoint Press by me, Sally Scott, Dave Lentz, Rena Joe, at aheroforhope.com. Really accessible, really cool, very emotionally investing book. The book's on Kickstarter till next Friday. We are fully funded. We've unlocked 7 stretch goals and counting. You can check that out. You want to connect with me on social media? I'm on Instagram, Facebook, most social media platforms of note, at Dirk Manning. Look for the image of the guy with the, the top hat and the scarf, and that's me. And again, thank you guys so much for having me on. I appreciate you. You know, I'm huge fans professionally. I have a lot of love for all of you personally. And this was a really great opportunity. I appreciate this so much. And all of you watching and all of you help support the Comics Pals, thank you for what you do too, because you give opportunities for creators like myself and the other great guests you guys have on to come in and talk about our work and spread the love of this industry and this medium. So thank you all. This has been wonderful.
Awesome. And speaking of creators, we actually have a very special interview coming up this week. We're going to be speaking with the creative team behind Duke, Joshua Williamson and Tom Riley. So that's going to be a lot of fun. That'll be this Wednesday. We'll give you guys more details about that. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. Let's get to the result of the draft. Who won?
I got you. Let's see. Let's click end on this baby. And drum roll, please. It's not popping up on my end.
I got it. So big winner this week is, of course, the individual with the biggest character. Dirk Manning took 50% of the vote. Tyler coming in right behind with 33% of the vote. I got 16%, and Marco coming in with a big hot 0%.
Yeah.
Looks like the minions really showed out for you, Marco.
And to be fair, I voted for shamelessly. I voted for myself. So really, you know, Marco, maybe I should have voted for you. But again, we got to give love to Godzilla. So.
No pity votes.
Right,
no pity votes.
Yeah, no pity votes.
Yeah, babe, you got to bet on yourself. You got to bet on yourself.
And you know what? I bet on the minions, and it wasn't me, right?
They're more night owls, I guess, for the Pals Full Show.
That's right. They'll come in after the fact. They'll be smashing the vote button at midnight tonight for you.
Yeah.
You have a night crowd, Marco. That's okay.
I'll take it.
Roboter says, thank you, Dirk, and great insights on these topics.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone in the comments who was saying hi and stuff. I'm sorry I get a chance to say hi. Those of you to see at conventions, those of you I look to seeing at conventions in the future, dirkman.com has my convention schedule on there. I'm kind of off the road till like February, March, working on a bunch of new stuff, including Tales Mystery Volume 6, a major horror project that I haven't even told you guys about yet. So maybe we'll talk off the air. But yeah, thank you again for having me. And thank you for everybody in the comments and watching the show. I appreciate you all. And aheroforhope.com. Check out Hope Volume 2.
Aheroforhope.com. I also want to say thank you. Thank you to Dirk for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you guys for listening. Before we jump, patreon.com/thecomics-pals. If you enjoyed this show, if you like what we do, that's a great way to support us. Channel memberships are always open. If you want to join us, just click the join button on the screen that you see right now if you're listening to us on YouTube. But support is as simple as a share, a like, anything that you guys do, leaving us a review or a comment on a podcast hosting platform. Everything matters and everything helps. So we appreciate that so much. Before we get out of here, just some quick plugs. Tyler.
You can follow me on Tyler also on Instagram, X, pretty much everywhere. Talk to me about Saltburn. I just saw Saltburn last night. I really enjoyed it. It's the newest Emerald Fennell movie. It's a weird one. I will never look at bathtubs the same, but yeah.
Marco.
Thank you again for tuning into this episode. You can follow me at Mr. Marco Enomoto on all social things. My newsletter is out this coming week, so for anybody who's tuning in on the Patreon, just stay tuned. Gonna go over some crafts that I've been getting into because 30 is the year for art and creating. So,
all right. As for me, I'm on Twitter and Instagram, only at Sean Soapbox. The only thing I want to mention is aheroforhope.com. Thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate you. We love you. Until next time, we're the Comics Pals.